Everybody, Brian here, quantlabsnet.com. Welcome to 2 days before Christmas. Not sure if we'll get a lot of people based on the topic, but I'll blab away. Anyways, lots to go over on this stream. I hope to continue on Tuesday nights. Was kind of sick 2 weeks ago with the flu. Nasty stuff going around. Anyways, so let's talk about what's going on. This is about Valkey, just backends for trading systems and why I had to make the decision and where we're at with Rithmic. So if you got questions, let me know. Comments, anytime, anywhere, just let me know. Okay, so wanted to go over today. We are now accessing live on Rithmic. We've passed the there's a test that you have to go through with your algorithm or application. You can only have one application running at one time on Rithmic, and I always thought you could do multiple, but I'm wrong. So I had to re-architect everything, and thanks to AI, got it done fairly quickly. So it's a new architecture. Just finished it up today, actually. So there's a couple of things that have to happen. So with Rithmic API, it's one application in C# still that connects directly into Rithmic. So with the C#, it makes all the calls, both the market or market data, along with the trading execution, all in one application. So out of that, you need to have all the Rithmic API calls within the that application. So that becomes like a server. It's like a data hub or a gateway to Rithmic. That's what the AI called it, which makes sense. And then that same application serves as a server client to multiple clients, passing back and forth messages between that server and the client. Each client can be multiple, and each one can be multiple strategies. And unique strategies could be by one strategy for one instrument. So I've built out two, one specific for ES and another one for NASDAQ, right time, I guess. And all the same processes I did for those strategies. And each client strategy has all the trading rules, has all the trading logic built into that strategy in each client C#. So there's messaging built in between the client strategy back to the server. I put it up on my blog at quantlabsnet.com. So that's how it works. So it could support multiple client strategies, we'll call it, and hopefully that'll work. So it could be pretty well anything you can trade on futures market, options, and all that. So that's how that works. Then there's the choice of backends that is the glue messaging queue or messaging bus between all of this, between these clients and the client server, which points back into Rithmic. So the choices were Postgres, SQL database. There was also one of the better message queues, Redis, which is now the fork for true open source with the least restricted licensing is Valkey. So I went with that, and I tried to create something. Thanks for try to create something with SQLite. SQLite was a nightmare. I got locks everywhere. They said, oh, it's going to be multi-threaded, blah, 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 blah. It's just not a good option. So I went back to the Valkey. Works fine, running, no problem. But now we're going to put it under stress. Now, in terms of the performance, it's 10 times faster than using Postgres. So I might stick with that option. So that's what's going on. As I said, we're now able with the API live with the data and the full-on trading now with orders with Rithmic. So it's really good. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you as well, Elliot. Thanks for reaching out. So as I said, if you guys got any questions or comments, let me know. I can gladly go over whatever you got is on your mind. That's why I do these strategies. So let me know if you got any comments or questions. questions. Yeah, so I'm pretty excited by it. I'm hoping to get things ready in the next, I would say, day, but however it takes. But it's really looking at what to trade. And I just did my scans as well. If you got any questions, let me know. Feedback, chime in, do a comment. That's all fine and good, and I'll respond to it. Anyways, here's my outlook for our early next year. The reports are coming in. Gold, silver are hitting the records. Yes, the aliens are here. Just in case you didn't know, David Icke's second part interview is online. I'm sure there's some one of the lizard people will be talked about for sure. Yeah, why not? Anyways, yeah, so saying that I think silver and gold has hit records along with copper and platinum. That's done out everything. With that, Bitcoin's had looks like a big losing year, obviously. Well, I'm getting more likes. Thanks for that. So when I'm looking at my scans right now, the ones that are brewing are Ethereum and Bitcoin. It's been like that for a good week or so. So they may blow up at some point. Something's brewing that the platform MotiveWave is seeing that I'm not seeing, because I'm using Gartley harmonic scans on that across the board of all the futures available. And those are the tradable ones. So right now we've had a good little run on the US market indices. So who knows what it'll be next year. As I said, thanks for chiming in. If you've got a comment or a question, let me know. Yeah, so what I was saying is crypto could come back. And I was just posted an article on one of the bigger, I don't know if it was a bank, but they said that crypto could be the leading asset class next year that will blow up. So good thing is with the AI, I can now quickly respond to market conditions. It's very, very impressive. So, yeah, now I should talk about AI a bit here. AI has gotten so advanced, I'm able to debug now with the stuff. I'm able to also obviously write stuff very sophisticated. I put up an architectural post on my blog, quantlabsnet.com. You can go in there and check it out. Yeah, so that's a big deal. Anyways, I'm here to talk about whatever is people are asking. So yeah, Christmas is coming up. I don't know if you can ask for a better Christmas present for something like that, because it's pretty impressive to be able to have this in place. So, not sure what's going to happen next week for streaming Tuesday. I don't know if that's New Year's Eve or not, but we'll see how that goes. If you got any questions or comments, let me know. I don't know how long this stream will last. I don't know if it's bad timing, good timing, or what. But yeah, let me break down the different back-end choices of the architecture I looked at until somebody comments or something. Valkey is a alternative fork for Redis, which is a message queuing. I'm using the pub/sub publisher subscriber mode, and that enables one publisher to many subscribers. So as I said, each subscriber is treated like a client strategy, which is unique to whatever the instrument is or the strategy itself. So I can have multiple of those in the server, and then that server will then turn around and interact with Rithmic for all the calls for the trading and market data. So that's how that works, and that's how. Now, is it robust enough? It does have Redis, or the Valkey does have state or maintain state. So it can have persistence, so it can save data to hard drive. So that's a good thing. It's number one for Valkey. A lot of the big cloud providers still back it because it's true open source with no restrictions at all. So that's why I like Valkey. I've always liked it. There was one other one I was looking at was called RabbitQ, MQ, but I'm unsure. I've never really used it, but something I might consider down the line. But for now, I think this is as good as it's going to get in terms of robustness for the queuing and messaging between these apps. So it's now becoming a true on trading platform, all done in C#. At some point, I'll have to move it over to C++. One thing I've also posted is who's clientele of Rithmic. Well, I put up another post on that. All the big high-frequency trading firms use both Rithmic and CQG. Those are the two leading providers of market data into using direct market access into big data centers like Chicago Mercantile Exchange, CME, Aurora, and the like. With a CQF is another competitor to Rithmic. All the big, large HFT operators are part of that ecosystem. That includes still the Citadels, DRWs, the Optivers. But back in the day, the only option was Rithmic and CQG. But a lot of the firms now have built out their own infrastructure directly into the CME. A lot of them have built out their own microwave technology networks, which is a big deal. I know Citadel's a big one, so they'll still have some remnant big, large firms like HFT, high frequency trading shops, using Rithmic. So I've said this before. If you're doing this for a career and you're trying to get a job out of this, the number one skill to have right now, or number two, the top two I'd say, is definitely knowing Rithmic, the API. It's not public, and there's a reason for it because of all these firms. They want to maintain the secrecy of that. Also, the other thing is if you get exposed to that, know how to work with it, and put that on your resume. I've said that before. I do think the insider tip would be that will put you probably at the front of the line for interviews and whatnot with these big firms because it shows that you've got the interest. The other big factor that's needed is good old trading yourself. So you have to work on a strategy and be able to showcase it to be profitable. So those are your top two benefits of using something like CQG, Rithmic. The only language you're going to use are either .NET, but if you're going to go with the diamond level API that Rithmic's got, which gives you the direct market access, you will be using C++. Okay, so if you have that skill set and profitable strategies to prove that, and AI is now capable to do it, you will be, Jeffrey Epstein has risen. Hello, yo. Yeah, so if you have those two skills with the trading strategies developed, you will probably be put at the front of the line, especially with C++ and Linux, and just understanding the usual HFT tech stuff. So that's really important to have now, I think. A lot of people won't have it. Instead of the usual, what you get on YouTube and whatnot, blah, 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 know this, be a... The other thing that I'm seeing among surveys, what users want are the math. I can't believe the files got leaked. I guess that means your files, Mr. Epstein. Yeah, you're a wonderful person. You go get them. That's quite interesting. Yeah, in the news, it's a hot stuff for sure. Hot topics. Coming back to Rithmic, yeah, so those are skills. There's another provider called CQG. I believe some of the HFT firms are with them as well. With Rithmic, all the big future proprietary firms are with Rithmic. A lot of big firms, platforms, notably Quant Tower and Motivwave, are with Rithmic. Okay, so it's good to learn if you get access and just go down that path if you want to be front of the line and showing the interest. Okay, so there's that. If you got any comments, let me know. I'm glad to chime in and respond to whatever you got. If you got a question, so far we got Mr. Epstein and aliens. Interesting crowd tonight. Probably close to Christmas, and people like to dip into the Christmas sauce, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, the other big one is I put a highlight of articles on building out trading funds. Again, with the AI out there, there's a little unknown Chinese AI LLM that I'm using, an older version. And it was pretty wild. I wanted to know, what do you need to do to build out a trading fund? And once you have a strategy that works, what will it take to capture the attention of these big firms and build it out? And it said the short order, within 90 days, you could build up a $25 million fund. Obviously, it's embellished, but let me talk about that. So the steps are, number one, you have a strategy. It's verifiable, and it's going to give a Sharpe ratio of 8. Okay, so if you have a Sharpe ratio of 8, you probably get a lot of attention of these firms. Now the question is, how do you reach them? This is what this AI said, and I thought I was pretty genius. So what you do is you have your strategy, and then you're going to use something like LinkedIn on looking for the executives of, let's say, 250 family offices over a certain amount of assets under management. Let's say over 100 million. So you build out some way to contact these firms of 100 million, 250 of them. And then you get the contacts, and you can use a higher subscription in LinkedIn to capture their email and whatnot. And then what you do is you, I guess, inbox message them somehow through LinkedIn, get their attention. You want to do a webinar, a group webinar, and then your goal is to get about 8 of them. So once you kind of build out these relationships with these family offices and your strategy of 8 with a Sharpe ratio of 8, you can probably maybe start developing a relationship. Now, what it said was you have to be registered with the FCA, which is the Financial Authority of UK. From what I understand, the US is much more stringent when you get registered, where the FCA is easier. So with the FCA, you get registered, and then you can reach out to much larger amount of pools of capital, be it in Switzerland, UK, the Mideast, Singapore, China, Hong Kong, and the like. You may be able to track US as well. And once you have everything verifiable and you're registered with the FCA, it's going to be a lot easier. People will find you through the talk of LinkedIn, and the other one was suggested was X as well, Twitter. And you just post stuff on your strategies. You offer notebooks on the high level, on the Python notebooks of your strategy, the results. People will want to work with that and look at it. And as you build out all this noise on both LinkedIn and X, attracting all this attention, generally you're going to have an arrangement where you will maybe have a private dinner at one of these large industries where a lot of these family offices will be. There's one in Europe called FinTech, Funtech, I believe. in Europe, and you just invite them during that event, and then from there you can talk to them, and you do follow-up webinars one-on-one and blah 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 blah. Over time, within a very short period of time, you can build up a lot of capital for your own fund because you're both registered. You have a verifiable strategy that is very strong with with a Sharpe ratio of 8, and that's how you do it. And thought I'd put that out there on this stream because it's not as hard as you think. Anyways, as I said, if you got comments or questions, let me know. We're sitting here from other people outside of if you see in the comments, kind of funny actually. But yeah, it's pretty exciting where things are at right now. AI can do so much now. It can do all the quant strategies for you with all the formulas. I've got Python scripts I can assess, compare each one. I can throw data out there, and I can use real world data. I've talked about how I do it for comparison. And now with the AI, some of the AI is so advanced, you can have it gauge using the data what strategies are best for that data set. So it could be, in my case, I can generate data as low as 100 millisecond time frame, and also daily, and you can ask AI to come up with strategies using HFT techniques or quantitative techniques, and it can do it. And then at the same time, you can also create code for it. AI is so sophisticated now where you can send over images to it, and it will be able to interpret what's in the image. And I'm sure if you do the same thing with charts and tables of data, I'm sure it can suss out some kind of relationship with the images you could send over, data, like in my case, CSV files. It's powerful, and we're coming along real good. Just got to be able to want to know how to use the correct prompting, and the other thing is to be able to use the correct LLM and the correct code generator, vibe code as they call it, to generate all this. I'm now at the stage where I have all that, and I'm hoping to throw out some money there, live money on the training ideas. So I'm willing to do that. And that's it. So I thought I'd throw that out there for one of the snippets. As I said, if you're interested, chime away, comment, ask your questions. I'm here to answer whatever you got. So let me know. Yeah, I'm just blabbing here into a camera until I'm trying to follow up with some of the other things. As I said, people will wish me Merry Christmas to everybody out there. We're 2 days away. Hope you have a good one on the Christmas front. If you got any comments, questions, let me know. I'll answer whatever you have. I've talked a little bit about the outlook for next year. And hopefully there's that. I've talked about the new infrastructure I had to design to appease the conditions of getting something working with Rithmic API. I've talked about the advantages with it. I keep saying as well, I will not be able to talk about the Rithmic API and what's in it. So hang on here. Let me just see. Okay, cool. Haha. Man, there's some bizarre people on YouTube tonight coming through the stream. Hidden one message. Wow, it was a real. Don't know what's trying to be meant here. I just kind of like laugh at it. Whatever. All I can tell, they're probably lonely people or something. I don't know. Anyway, so here we are. If you got questions, let me know. I'm glad to take whatever is out there. So yeah, like I was saying, next year is going to be the real year of where things go. I think we're probably kind of in a Christmas rally. I don't know if the market indices at the stock markets are going to continue throughout the year. Wow, they're really coming in. These messages. Ha ha ha. Yeah, whatever. yeah. So so I think next year is going to be interesting as we move into it. One of the articles I posted today was saying that crypto could lead the way. Possible. If it's a sustainable rally, I don't know. I did post some interesting things of what the banks do with Bitcoin itself and how they mint all these extra coins, but don't really impact the blockchain and it doesn't go public. I've got that up on my blog as well. I got one that goes in detail as well. So yeah, so there's that, and yeah. So I mean, it's hard to say, but all I can tell you is that for sure, a lot of the big instruments that you see the volume on are manipulated somehow. I've done one on silver. I've done one on Bitcoin. I've got now the ability to create those image guides that you guys see with tips. I can do it with quant strategies, going into details, show the actual model, the formulas used. It's pretty powerful. I might post one or two just to see a response online with it. I've got the Bitcoin one going to go up. I'm going to talk about the additional debt added with the Federal Reserve, a bunch of others as well, because I know those are pretty popular. So, as I said, if you got comments or questions, we've got some interesting comments so far, but two that have been held back by YouTube. So, I don't know. I'm trying to be friendly about it, but we'll just say trolls as usual. One thing they say is if you start, it's not hate mail, it's just as dumb comments, but whatever. If you got any questions or comments, let me know about, I don't know, algo trading, systematic trading, investing, where I am at. I'm on the same path as the high frequency trading. Just that's a special API that you need with Rithmic that I'm using. This is for futures and options. So I've already blabbed enough about it. So if you got any comments or questions, let me know. And I'll be glad to respond to it. But yeah. Oh, hello, NewV69. Thanks for the comment. Finally got it. Hello, Brian. I know you are going with MotionWave, but I wanted to keep two more platforms that run Linux to your attention. TickBlaze and Nautilus Trader. I've heard of these platforms, but I think TickBlaze is a database, right? A high-speed database. Nautilus, I think I've heard of with Linux as well. Here's the direction I'm going now. I'm not using any trading platforms outside of the one I've already highlighted with MotionWave just to see where the trends are, and then using AI to work with the programming code for, as I said, like we'll call it high frequency trading like a code, and same with the quantitative mindset as well. So I can apply that in the code as well. Oh, so hang on here. Yeah, let me show this comment here. Oh. Okay, yeah. I saw your message, NewV69. Yeah, regarding the TickBlaze. Sounds like it's a platform. There's so many out there. So right now, as I said, when it comes to platforms, I think they can be somewhat restrictive. The APIs, you're free to develop anything you want. There's some features I've seen with Rithmic C++ that I haven't seen ever before, and that really comes down to looking on the order book, depth of market, level 2, being able to judge whatever instrument, and there's functionality there that could tell you if the order book has got aggressive trading participants on the order book, and measuring this aggressive on the order book as well. So that can be done with that particular API. Who knows what's available on the Diamond from Rithmic, how more advanced. As far as I know, it's got better routing for being on the exchange with whatever CME or whatever. So there's that. Good question. So yeah, that's the problem with trading platforms. You don't realize how restricted you are, not seeing stuff, and that was one of the most glaring functionality I saw on the C++ API. I tried to look for it on the .NET, couldn't find it with that functionality, but knowing that functionality, you could save yourself a lot of trades. Because the problem is that a big feature among the high-frequency trading shops is the code stuffing, meaning there's a lot of firms out there that will clog an order book of whatever you're watching with fake trades. And they do that to confuse a lot of the smaller participants like myself, let's say, and then making you think that actually there's real volume. And what happens is these firms will then stuff all these orders and then at the last minute clear out all of the cancel all the orders, and then the price collapses. I have turned the internet upside down. I can find one person using Diamond. Nothing even on GitHub. Yeah, that's right, because I've said this many times before with Rithmic and the API for Rithmic, Diamond or not, just any Rithmic API, there's terms of service on the API, so you cannot publicly talk about what's in the API. Like any of the calls you cannot talk about, publicized as part of their terms of service. I've tried using some of the wrapper packages that you can get on with the Rithmic, namely in Python. Some of them are abandoned. There is one currently updated, but I just find that it kind of works, but it doesn't do the orders. So you have to use a native API. I think using the wrappers might sound like a good idea, but I just don't think it's going to work. So a guy says he lost $86,000 in a casino tonight. Sorry to hear that. Maybe you should put that same money in a high-frequency trading, build out your own system. You probably do better. Have better odds with that. That's with Plazizna. Thanks for the comment, though. Yeah, the high-frequency trading can do... Oh, it's not your money. Okay. Well, hopefully it's not the mob's money, let's say. I don't know. But hopefully you'll be okay after that. We've had some interesting comments. I'll say that for sure tonight. Some that AI, the YouTube picked up. They were quite interesting. So yeah, regarding the APIs, yeah, you got to go native with only Rithmic. Because I tried that at the beginning, thought it would work, but no. For data, maybe, but yeah, you got to go with the Rithmic. Oh, it's cartel money. I'll be all right. Oh, okay, that's good to know. Yeah, you should go into high-frequency trading. Got better odds. Hopefully you're a developer and a quant guy. What you just described as spoofing, have you found a way to deal with this? Okay, Nuvi 69, I won't say there's a way to avoid it, but as I said earlier, the only thing that I've seen to kind of, we'll say, notify you of what's going on a particular order book is I did find a function in Rithmic in C++, and it will measure the aggressiveness of the depth of market order book. So it comes back with a rating saying that there's aggressive participants on that order book. Those are the firms and the spoofing that you're talking about. So if you know you have a low rating on that, then you know that that's a safe order book to go with. But most likely, if that's the case, then it's going to be low volume anyways. So you're going to have other problems as well. So, you know, like quick drops on the pricing and all that. So it's hard to get around that. But the only functionality that with this aggressiveness is I found was in the C++ edition of Rithmic. Nothing else. I've not seen that feature in any of the platform, any of the trading platforms. Never seen it. And if I'm going to be honest with, like, the only ones that will know this is going to be Rithmic. Why? Because they have, I think, a lot of institutional clientele using their ecosystem. So they'll know what's going on their order book, on their servers, if there is this, call it spoofing or whatnot, and then they can come up with a rating on that particular order book because so many institutional participants using Rithmic. So I think that they're one of the only ones that can do it. CME can do it, but they probably will not give you that information. And same with CQG. I don't know what they've got in their API, but I did see that with C++. So again, who knows? There's that. You may get extra functionality in the Diamond as well that we don't know about. I have better knowledge of it. I'm just not going to say it publicly here, but it is true institutional level API to get direct market access to things like CME. Plus, it gives you access to other large exchanges like the ICE and the Eurex as well. That's been confirmed now through Rithmic itself. So these are the huge advantages you get with Rithmic. I can't comment on CQG. I will say, if I went through my introductory broker, which is EdgeClear, I did ask both access to either CQG or Rithmic. They recommended Rithmic. Why? Because it's more quote unquote affordable. CQG is $500 a month, okay, for API access. Rithmic's $100. So that right there in the price alone, you go with Rithmic. And also with Rithmic, a lot of the large futures prop firms are using Rithmic. So they'll have like AMP Trading is on there with Apex and some of the other leading prop firms, all using Rithmic. So it's good to be part of that as well. If you got comments or questions, let me know, man. Comments, questions. I mean, we got some silly ones, which is fine. I don't care. But yeah. So hopefully our friend that lost money with the cartel casinos tonight, a shame. Anyway, so if you got comments or questions, let me know. I'll be gladly to respond to it. So with what I've designed, that's been architected again by AI because it's so smart. Everything's been decoupled, so one piece of code or application doesn't depend on the other one. So what I could do with the server component that talks to Rithmic, I could easily replace it with CQG calls, or I could replace it with interactive brokers. So I can do that. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. And the AI is so advanced now, you can do it, and it works. I've got it. I just found out I've been using the Rithmic API now for 2 months now. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I've got to a point where I can get it working with the API, with AI, which is pretty interesting, and get it running. Running it live with money is another story, but just to get to that point, I think it's a big deal. Of course, it can't be publicized or transferred. As I said, it goes against terms of service. That's what you get when you go into the institutional world, not the retail world and all the other nonsense you see online with YouTube and social media, blah, 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 blah. Waste of time. And it's very expensive too. People are telling me the CQG, or no, it was one of them, Bookmap or something. They wanted $5,000 a month for API access. That is beyond, I don't know. That's insane. MBO is even included with Rithmic. Yes, it is. Most of us don't need much more. I wanted to go with Data Bento, but changed my mind. Looking to build a Rithmic WebSocket instead. Yeah, you can do that with, there's three options. Well, four APIs that Rithmic's got. C++, .NET, and the WebSocket, which will support Python and JavaScript. So if that's a WebSocket, you can do that. If you're doing it through Python, you better be prepared to really understand protobuf. I looked at the code, it's not fun. The reason I went with C# is because it's the easiest. Yes, it is Windows, but that's okay. I just want to get trading and see if, and just more focus on the strategies themselves instead of technology. I didn't want to be one of those paralysis by analysis people. So I went with C#. That's the easiest. It's performant as well. So I would definitely go with that. And then C, like if you're going to do the diamond level, yeah, you want to go with C++. There is no, sorry to say new V69, I've not seen any support with Rust. Oh, I see. If you're going to do a WebSocket, you could probably do that. That's possible. But if you're going to go eventually with the Diamond Cutter API, the only support you'll get was C++. That's all you get. There's no other support. And I got official documentation that says that. It says that there's also support for C# as well in the Diamond Cutter API, but for sure you're not going to get Python or JavaScript as well. So yeah, but the better option is C++, and they've been like that for many years. I don't think they'll change with Rust support, unfortunately. I don't know if you guys have seen the Microsoft head of some, you know, they got over 1 million lines of code that they want to get rid of C++ and replace it all with C++ and C with Rust. There's a couple of comments on, or posts on Reddit, and they said that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, and I kind of agree. It's like, remember the COBOL days? COBOL's going to get replaced, and C and C++ is going to die eventually. Well, it's still here. I mean, these are 40, 50-year-old languages. Legacy code never dies, especially if it's functional. And same with the high-frequency trading shops. They're all C++, and they're probably very old code bases. They're not going to replace them because they work. And there's no reason to move off of them. As far as I know, even Goldman Sachs is still using SecDB, and what was the proprietary language that was built on SecDB? Was it Slang? I think they're still using it. And that's like going back to the 90s, which is kind of funny. But as far as I know, they've added some Python as well, some probably Python wrappers to SecDB to bring in new talent. If they don't have Python, they're not going to stay. It was the Goldman Sachs way of doing the golden handcuffs thing, because they pay so well, and they keep people now in the world of Slang. Same with KDB and the K plus or Q plus languages, all that. So those days are done, especially now with where we're at with AI and what AI can do. There are a few LLMs can generate high-frequency trading level code. I've tested some for the FPGA with Verilog that can be generated. I don't know if it works or not, but we're definitely getting there, and we're probably pretty close. Some of the Chinese LLMs are pretty impressive as well. Have you tested for latency with the current setup? If so, type, data, and execution speed have you been to achieve? I've not tested things locally because I'm on commodity hardware. What I will say, the coding style or architecture, which I'm using to generate with Claude 4.5 Opus, very expensive, but it's saving me a lot of time and money if I was to do it through some very experienced developer. But the code it generates is very optimal and very efficient. There are services that somebody sent the code to all these services, and it was optimal. It was like a 97% efficiency, 97% optimum. So I don't worry about that. But I've not tested the speed of it, but I would imagine it's pretty good. Some of the AI, when you assess, like you can do a code breakdown, which I did on that little trading system I posted this morning on. Like I talked earlier about different backends when it comes to, let's say, Postgres, and have all these components talk to each other via Postgres, and to compare it against something like Redis, or in my case, Valkey, which is a fork of Redis. It was about 10 times faster than Postgres. So that in itself, it can measure, and some of the AI can tell you expected speed as well. So, oh, thank you, Melodrama Boy. Yes, lovely comments tonight. Gotta say, keep them coming. They're quite funny. So yeah, so with the measuring or performance level, I do believe, especially with Claude 4.5, they're very advanced. I'm not there yet, but one metric I did see because everything's all local, it's only 5 milliseconds between my client server, the client strategy code, to the gateway server. There's only 5 milliseconds there, and then pumping it out to Rithmic's another story. So another question, I was thinking more of an exchange latency in the round trip of your order being executed. Oh, I see. With Rithmic, I don't think you'll get any faster. Reason is because I did for somebody out of France who found a solution equivalent to Rithmic, and I compared it also to interactive brokers. The thing with Rithmic, and I'm probably pretty sure CQG is the same, they have dedicated infrastructure within the ecosystem of, let's say, the CME in Aurora. So if you're going to go through that, you're going to get as best as you're going to get without hosting your own infrastructure in the exchange. So the latency on a third party like Rithmic, I don't think you'll get any faster or slower. It just comes down to location. And one of the other advantages when you go with something like Rithmic, there's other services like sister companies. And if you go with the Diamond Cutter, you have to lease their hardware that sits within their direct market access of that exchange. That's one of the conditions for the Rithmic API. And those boxes are like $3,000 to $5,000 to $1,000 a month, depending upon your configuration you need. So this is one of the big reasons why I like Rithmic, because it's all there. You're just putting your code up and hosting it there, making sure that your code is compliant with Rithmic, and that there's going to be no knock-on effects as well. So Melodrama asks, why does your hat show UK but you sound American? I'm actually Canadian, born in UK. It's just more humor, like yourself. Ha ha ha. Like, look at UK. Let's make it investable again. So there you go. That's what it says. Make UK investable again. So I do have a Canadian Logic hat as well. I do have some quant hats as well. I did custom hats. So that's the reason there. So when it comes to Rithmic, I don't think you're going to get it any better. The other thing is with Rithmic, a lot of people don't realize is that Rithmic, if you're on one API, one piece of code, you can take that code and move it around to other big exchanges like the ICE in New Jersey with their exchange. And then you can also do the same thing with London, Frankfurt, all the big exchanges. So 2 more comments. Nuvi says, I was able to achieve 1 millisecond with cross-connected VPS to Rithmic server, cost $149. Well, you might want to book a call with me if you want to talk privately about better options. I don't know your story, Nuvi. It really is going to be your strategy, if it's profitable, and if it's going to be your account size, because the account size will matter to get the Diamond Cutter. There's a requirement there. I'm quite surprised with some of the people I'm talking to with their accounts. They're pretty big for just individuals. It's the reach of this website and the social media is pretty impressive. So get on my website, quantlabsnet.com, and there's some booking option if you want to do that, or at least get on my email. We could talk about further than that. Okay, so are you aware of platform like Rithmic for HFT spot trading? A lot of these platforms that are claiming to be HFT are not HFT. If you're not getting access for direct market access into Aurora at the CME or the equivalent, you're not HFT. No way. No way. I'm sorry. It's just only so far I've seen Rithmic gives you that. No platform's going to give it to you. No VPS is going to give it to you. Doesn't happen. And if there is, give me the name and I'll query about it. Even interactive brokers is not HFT. It's just a dedicated pipeline into the Aurora data center, but it's not hosted in the data center in Aurora. So that's not HFT. Well, sir, as you're a member of the UK, I don't spit on your label. Hope you had a rosy life here. No, I'm still in Canada, dude. So I'm still, well, I'm relocating. Anyways, hey, Ingrid's got a message here. Just type up what you want, Ingrid. or just send me an email. You know the deal. So yeah, we're getting close to high frequency trading level. The nice thing, as I said, we're out with Rithmic. It's true HFT. Okay, I did a post on who uses HFT or who uses Rithmic, and as well as CQG, which are the prime competitor, and it's the leading HFT names that you know: Citadel, all of them, Optiver, Jump Trading, blah 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 blah. Why leaving Canada? I hear the people. Yeah, the people are nice here, but socially, politically, I'm not aligned anymore. I could go on about that. I might do a video on that next month. If the platform can't run Linux with kernel bypassing the other hardware modifications, you can't run true HFT. Nuvi, I'm not sure what you're talking here. I'm talking about your location and where your box is. If it's direct market access in the Aurora data center, you're right, you got access. This has nothing to do with the technical aspects of Linux. Most of the leading AI always goes on about FPGA anyway, so there's no software here with the FPGA doing direct market access. Usually you're not going to use Rithmic anyways. You're going to be using the exchange itself and their own direct API. So when it comes to the software, it's irrelevant if you're going to go the FPGA route. Some of the things I could say about with the CME, there's highly specialized but very expensive data feeds that you'll have advantages with let's say the CME. I post them behind my paywall, specific data feeds for certain conditions that you only get directly from the CME, and they're very, very expensive, ranging from $500 a month to over $10,000 a month. I was responding to the guy asking about HFT platforms. As I said, there's no such thing. Well, there are HFT platforms. Like there was one called Deltix, but that's the software you put on your box, and that same box will get hosted direct market access within the Aurora data center, because you have to be in that environment. If you're outside of that, then you're kind of going to have a delay, and you know it's kind of like you're still sitting on the outside. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind. There are platforms that are HFT, but they're very, very expensive. Like Deltix was anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000, depending upon the configuration per month. Okay, so once you start adding the label HFT, it gets very expensive. Let's see here. Okay, some more comments. So Ingrid says, hi Brian, did you say to use Rithmic 1? Has to be on their server, or is that for the Diamond? Okay, so this is how it works when you're testing out. There's Rithmic Test. These are the different servers. That's going to give you test market data. So the only useful instruments that you have there is probably Bitcoin and ES and NQ, which are the NASDAQ and S&P. So you'll get some test volume there that you can work with, but once you want to move into more, let's say, currencies, you're not going to get the same data. You have to get the real market data. So if you're using Rithmic Test, then you have to do a conformance test once you get your strategy ready. And then you pass that, then you can get access into the Rithmic 1 servers, which are the real deal of the real market data, and that gives you the real venue that you can trade in using Rithmic into things like the CME, ICE, and all that. So hopefully I'll answer that question. So melodrama, yeah, Justin was a joke. Fair enough, though. Just be aware, England has its own problems, but nevertheless, we are people of the world. We move freely around. Yeah, that's true. I guess Justin or melodrama. Yeah, And the thing is with the cloud providers, and you can do everything on your laptop or whatever you're connecting into with the API with Rithmic, and you can do even that locally. But once you go into production, that's where you're going to host everything on, let's say, Rithmic servers in the direct market access in something like the CME. So there is that. I was responding to the guy asking about HFT platforms. Okay, I'm sorry. If you guys got any other further questions, thanks for joining. Add whatever you got. I mean, we're dealing with the trolls. I don't even threat haters. They don't affect me. They bring entertainment. Yeah. I mean, I'm too old for responding to stuff like that. I think Melody was saying about LGBTQ, something referenced there, and blah, 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 but whatever. Life goes on. So, yeah, I mean, if you got any comments or questions, but so far, as of today, I passed my conformance test. And what is a conformance test? When you're moving into high frequency trading, you're getting into real deal. I'm sure you heard about the independent trader out of London years ago with a big, massive flash crash. He was just trading out of his home in London on Trading Technologies platform, and he had such a huge impact, and he got fined and blah, blah, blah. Then the regulators stepped in and said, we can't have these flash crashes anymore. So they brought about, with your algorithm, you want to see the source code, the lobbyists push back, then they push for a kill switch, so you have to declare a kill switch and describing that. That's when you get into the big boy stuff. But when you come into something like Rithmic, you have to do a conformance test. So basically what that is, they have to protect their own ecosystem because everything's regulated to death, which in a way is a good thing. But what they're asking for is two things. Who are you trading for? Are you trading for yourself, or are you trading for customers and investors? So I'm trading for myself right now. That could change. And and then two things they'll ask for, like if you're a business with capital being raised from other outside investors, they want to know about that. The other thing is they want to know about your app name that's identifiable within Rithmic, and that's it. So depending upon who you're trading for or who you are, you probably got to go through some other steps to get past that conformance test. But if you're going in as an individual, you should have no problem. The other key thing is, if you're going to do this, one tip I can give is go in as a non-professional, because if you go in as a professional through any of these providers, be it a futures intro broker or the Rithmic itself or an FCM, you will be charged roughly 5 to 10 times more than what you go in as an individual, meaning non-professional. So if you're starting out, go as a non-professional and go as an individual. Once you have something working professionally and external capital, then you change it. But for now, that's what I'd go in as. Then you probably have to declare that as well. So with JDI saying, I heard about it, was arrested when it happened. Yeah, it was taken very seriously. This flash crash was very severe. The first of its kind back in, I don't remember what year, but it was 2011, 12 or 13. They traced it back to some guy living near Heathrow Airport in London, just some individual trader operating on a retail trading platform like Trading Technologies, and got busted, heavily fined. I think, he said he got jailed for it as well. And I'm telling you, the Rithmic, your futures, commodities merchant takes it very seriously. You'll be signing off on these things about auto liquidation if your strategy is losing 80% more, and it can have a negative impact on other algorithms as well. So they're very cognizant of that, and you have to sign off on all of that and making yourself aware of that. And it's very serious when you have something that goes out of whack. Most models suffer from drift. Do you run your algorithms with incremental learning to learn to keep in line with most recent market conditions? Yes, I'm aware of the drift and the fade as well, which is pretty common. So some of the strategies that get mentioned, the AI do mention that. And then, depending upon what I'm trading, and I pass it through the AI for recommendation. If it's, let's say, the ES or NQ with high volume, you'll get 10 different strategies. So there will be some mentioning about the fade. So you can go with other strategies with better performance when you do the back test and the forecast or the walk forward analysis. You go with those strategies. You really generally worry about that because what I'm doing is I'm working off of strategies that are current and a current snapshot, and then I can take that data, the most recent, depending upon the time frame, feed that into an AI as part of the prompt, and do analysis and say what are the best, as I said, back test and with a walk forward, and I'll come up with the best performing strategies. And you may run that strategy for a day, a week, a couple of days, depending upon the if there's a trend, it could be a week, like with the ES or how the market's been operating in the last few days with trend. So you can run those with the same strategy, and then that strategy may no longer be useful. You may have to no longer trade it with that asset class and trade something else and go with another strategy that may switch over because the market regime changes all the time, and then go with something like a mean revert and come up with a new strategy. It's all short-term thinking. So that's how that works. Hopefully I'll answer your question, Mr. Nuvi69. I appreciate your questions and comments as well. As I said, the only difference now is I'm getting more confident with the knowledge on it, but now it's time to throw live capital at it. So there's that. If you guys got any other questions, these are very good questions. I really enjoy doing these. Like I said, the troll comments are kind of funny, but to be honest, they're kind of juvenile. Really showcases their level of, I don't know, you know what I mean. So there's that. But yeah, some are pretty interesting. Yeah, so if you got any comments, questions, whatever, let me know. I'm here to answer them. YouTube will pick up anything that's kind of funny and will hold it back. I can see it. I can then show it on the stream. But I let the YouTube AI determine what's good or not. So if you got anything, let me know. I've talked for the last hour about this. So if you're missing anything, just watch this same stream to know what I'm talking about. I'm normally here as a money maker. Not sure why my name changed. I don't know either. Ask YouTube on that. One of the things I noticed with the latest batch of strategies, one of the client strategies for NASDAQ with the latest batch of positive trends for NASDAQ, it came away with probably 5, maybe 10 strategies. The most lucrative one, and this one went back, because I'm using a 2-hour time frame, went back about 4 months. The most lucrative of all of them was market making. So, the market making was the best strategy, combined with a bunch of options and synthetic options and maybe a future in there as well. This is the institutional level stuff, and AI can pump these out. You can code these, and yeah, you can code them for FPGA, it seems, and being able to do that. So it's quite interesting to know how that plays out because AI is so advanced. But market making was the best strategy, and it went straight up like a 45 degree of all the different types of strategies. I'm only mentioning that because of your comment, Nuvi69, when you say money market, yeah, market making, and that usually is the best strategy of all, market making. And yeah, you could do it on Rithmic as well, because one of the projects I work with the depth of market, and I actually ran it all night for Rithmic support to get the conformance test, because that's one of the requirements. You have to have a continual login, so when the support logs in to see your connection, they can, I guess, activate you to the Rithmic 01 production. So that's a good question, JDR. Have I run money market strategies before? Money market, meaning we talking in the money markets, like next to Treasury? No. But I am interested in somewhat similar asset class fixed income if things go really bad with the treasury and the different durations. There's lots of contracts you can choose from. With the money market, the answer would be no, but I am interested in it. Only if things get really bad in the markets, because I don't know if you guys follow Edward Dowd. He was saying that if things go bad, the short-term treasury will be still pretty good until the blow-up of the U.S. financial system. That could take years, but for now, it's fine. Nuvi asked, have you heard anything more about Vultr Cloud Service you talked about a few weeks ago? There's nothing new to address. I think I will need to find a host for this new trading system I just architected in the last few days with the AI. Again, I have a post on my blog at quantlabsnet.com. Let's go to the blog section or /blog. You'll see what I'm saying. It's just brand new. I posted today. The whole architecture of how it will work. So I have to get that hosted on a cloud, and Vultr probably will be it. Maybe something else, I don't know, but Vultr is probably the best. There's nothing new to report there. It will have to be on Windows, obviously, and they do have options on cloud using Windows Server. I've talked about that, and not a lot of cloud server providers have Windows Server. So there is that option, because I'd like to be on Linux, but then it gets kind of complicated because I have to connect into the Rithmic Trainer Pro software, and that's Windows based. If I was going through like a Cutter or Diamond, and that's supported on Linux. JDI, what type of prompts do you normally use in the AI to discover institutional strategies? Haha, that's my trading edge. I've been working on the AI with the prompting now for the last year. People ask me what LLMs do I use and what prompting I use. I don't publicize that. Sorry, but you know, what I will say is you can. I'll say this: if you're assessing strategies and institutional level, but you have to be willing to pay for it. There's no doubt on it. You cannot do this through the free open source Chinese ones. They're very watered down. The only one that really can do it is the Claude level, 4.5 level LLMs. So just to drop some hints, to do it in Python, I would use Python Streamlit. I build lots of Streamlit applications because for some reason, Claude loves to generate Streamlit apps, and it actually throws in extra stuff that you would never know, and that's again institutional level. So you could start there, and then you could take that code and then re-upload it back into the AI, Claude, let's say, and say, generate this particular strategy for me in whatever language, C++ or whatnot. And the AI, Claude is very advanced enough to be able to do that for you. It's powerful. But as I said, the calls, the requests, the prompting is very, very expensive. Some of the other capable LLMs, you could be doing a half an hour scan on it, or 45 minutes. I had one do 45-minute scan. It's very computer intensive at their end, so it gets very expensive. And part of the problem using the open source level ones, specifically the Chinese ones, the free ones, it will generate a watered down code base for you, but when you feed it back in to do the debugging, it ain't gonna finish the job. The only one that can do real debugging with more sophisticated coding is the Claude. That's it. The next closest maybe is Qwen Coder, Qwen 3 Coder, but it still is it won't finish the job. Sorry to tell you. And every time you have to feed the piece of code back into the prompting to get it to do it. What do I think about Cursor? Cursor's okay. I've worked with also with Windsurf, so I can only really speak with Windsurf. I think it's great, but again, it's expensive when you use more of the advanced LLMs and models. I've heard of complaints about Cursor that it's not to be trusted on the true cost when you use it, because I don't know if they can do a cap on usage. Hopefully you can, because I don't know Cursor enough, or same with Windsurf. And it can get very expensive if you start to abuse it. So you want to work with something that gives you a cap, and then you just buy more points or whatnot to add to your account. In terms of Cursor, it's fine. I do like the convenience where you prompt it and it will generate all the code for you, and then to iterate it when you're debugging it. I don't know if that's the most efficient. I can't say. I've worked with Windsurf, which is a competitor of Cursor. I like it. The quality of code is nowhere as great working directly with Claude itself. Like, I've not worked with the Claude, the CLI for coding, but I'm sure it's as good. But if I was to say which model, and if I was a betting man, you'd want to use Claude, especially when it comes to the modeling and all this advanced API stuff. Cursor, all of them, ChatGPT, I hate to say it, they're very amateurish compared to what Claude can deliver. I've just used Codex 5.1 Max Pro. It's no comparison compared to Claude. And a lot of the other ones just don't compare. It comes down to the quality of code. That's number one. Number two, what's is very important is the code it generates. Does it have errors in it? Does it have compiler errors? Will it have runtime exceptions as well? With Claude, usually it's now at a point with these sophisticated prompting, it's nearly flawless. Within 2 iterations of the debugging, it will have a runnable application code or whatnot. Nothing else comes close to that. I've gone through many minutes and iterations with the Chinese ones. They just can't do it. Only Claude can do it. And Claude seems to advertise, I've seen the ads with Claude, you can use Claude for debugging, and that's the important one. So Claude 4.5 Opus. Somebody did mention you can use Claude 4.5 Opus to generate the code base, and then use the Sonnet 4.5 for all the debugging to make it more affordable. Just to drop a hint there, I haven't done that. I'm always using Opus because I'm pretty extreme on the budget now. I'm spending a couple $100 a month now on AI, so I don't really worry about the cost of AI right now, just because of the benefits I'm getting from it. People are thinking I have a team of coders. No, I don't. It's just me. People think I have a hedge fund of analysts. No, I don't. It's all AI. Everything I put out is AI. And anybody that says that AI doesn't work, you should kind of question them. They're just using the cheap ass open source free stuff. And yeah, that stuff don't work, but you got to be willing to pay. But when you do put the money in per month, the benefits are like light years. Like, I cannot stress how powerful AI is now, especially with Claude. And Claude is easily the best one for coding. I'm sure there's going to be some Chinese ones coming out as good, but for now, and I should also talk about Gemini. I'm quite surprised with the Gemini 3 Pro. It's getting better, but it's still not as advanced as Claude. But the ChatGPT stuff, like the Codex, just doesn't cut it. The Copilot, to me, is like not worth it. So if you're using, like I'm using Visual Studio, the Copilot's just no. And to be honest, I think the hand coders, I don't see why going through that. That's so 19th, 18th century. I've always used a comparison of AI, especially in coding, where with coding, we're at a point now where it's very transformative. It's like the equivalent of a Model T Ford Model T coming out, where it changes the way we transport ourselves versus the horse and buggy people. So the people that go on about AI and it doesn't work, those are the horse and buggy people. Or these are the high-paid coders that want to protect themselves in their ebony towers and don't want to see AI eventually take themselves out because they lose value. we're already at that point, for sure. I know because I prove it to myself multiple times a day, especially now with where I'm at with the Rithmic stuff and HFT level, quant level stuff. I think people are kind of blown away with some of the analysis reports I can generate for all the quant mathy stuff. It's pretty impressive. It's beyond impressive. It changes the level playing field for all the HFT firms, all the quant firms. Like, they will not have edge once people start playing with us and willing to pay. Yeah, and being able to, I think the edge now will be how fast you respond to the market regime changes, because I've said before, we are going to go through a very high period of high volatility over the next year, especially with the debt levels that we're on and the craziness that's going to come with the crazy negative volatility. And it's going to get to a point where trading generally is going to be not tradable because of the volatility. But with AI, I'm not even sure if the trading platforms will help because of unpredictable, crazy, deep drawdown level volatility that's coming. It's going to be kind of scary. So AI is going to be your best friend. That's all I can say. So there's that. And you guys have been great. You guys got questions or comments, let me know. I'm glad to answer whatever. I've got nowhere to go. And we did a few weeks ago a 3-hour one. If a JDI or new V69 or Giuseppe 146C have questions, or think if Ingrid as well, because AI is changing everything. I mean, I'm going to be honest. If I was hand coding, trying to do what I'm doing now without AI, I'd be months in trying to figure it all out. But AI has changed everything for me. To be honest, I just started AI a year ago. What asset class do you like the most? It depends. The best answer is what trends the most. What one trends the most? Lately, the market indices. Now I'm talking about futures. Okay, futures and options. The ones I like most right now are the future market, the U.S. market, the ES and NQ NASDAQ, because of the volume. Where there's volume, there's trading opportunity, good or bad. I think crypto is going to start coming back. I forgot to mention with the CME, Jump Crypto uses, from what I understand, what the AI told me, uses Rithmic. So they trade Bitcoin and Ethereum through the CME. There was an article where it said that the CME had higher volume for both Bitcoin and Ethereum than Binance. So Binance has more volume than CME, but remember, CME is regulated. Binance isn't. And I think CME's dropped off because there's less interest in trading on crypto. But from the trends that I've seen lately in the last few days, crypto seems to be, I think it's going to come back very soon. We might have some surprises over the next week or so. I'm not saying, but from what I'm seeing on the trends, that could be my next favorite. I've always liked, obviously, gold and silver, but how long that lasts, I don't know. It just depends on the markets and what trends. That's the best answer I can give you that for JDI. So Nuvi asks, can we have a little chat about hardware? What is the minimum specs required to do all these AI-generated algorithms? I'm on I believe it's a 16 gig laptop, and depends where you're generating the AI, which is usually going to be at the other end. So performance is not a huge issue, but you can use commodity hardware. If you're running the AI locally, that's another story. But if you're doing it through an API or a WebSocket, usually it's going to be not a huge concern, but you want to be on something fairly recent. I don't think that's a huge factor, but when you start to run these things live, yeah, then that matters. But hardware-wise, it's not a big deal if you're going through an API access for a third party, like a Cursor or a Windsurf or a Roo or some of the other services out there. So that doesn't seem, I think it can have an effect on how long it takes to do the scan after the prompt runs, or when it's thinking after you put in your prompt. That might have an effect. But other than that, you can do the prompting through commodity hardware as long as it's recent hardware. Hopefully that'll help you out. But on the cloud, that might matter, especially if you're, in my case, I could have 2 client strategies running against the server edition. That's going to be a lot of data transfer back and forth if I stick with the Redis or Valkey. So there's going to be a lot of processing there. So it's going to be needing to be very quick and have to have very high throughput along with a high amount of memory. But if I run that on the cloud, you just choose the right server, willing to pay, with the right configuration. But again, if that's on cloud, that's something different, and then run it locally there. Hopefully I'll have access. As I said, Nuv, if you want to talk privately, I can't, if it comes down to more of the sensitive talk, because people have their own custom strategies. Yeah, just go to my website, quantlabsnet.com. There's a booking on there that you can get, and my rate is beyond, it's disgustingly cheap. But I think it's going to change very quickly with the recent knowledge I picked up on. There's not a lot of people talking about the Rithmic API out there on YouTube and the like. It's all secretive sauce stuff, but I can only go so far on the Rithmic API itself. So with this new architecture, I can kind of talk about the strategies themselves, no problem, but the actual calls to Rithmic API, that's something different. Can't do it. Goes against the terms of service, and I am going to chance it. So, yeah, that's part of the problem. But again, it's all institutional level. I respect the things there, but anything else before that, the hitting the Rithmic point, I can obviously talk about. And from what I'm seeing with recent other posts on LinkedIn, everybody wants their math. So Nuvi asked, the high CME crypto traffic is probably ETF. No, I don't think so. You know why I say that? Because there was a couple of stories when Bitcoin was crashing a couple of weeks ago. You can look this up. BlackRock running the IBIT, there were stories that were showing up on Coinbase Prime, and there were wallets linking back to IBIT and BlackRock, and they were like in large volume, like dumping hundreds of millions of dollars on Coinbase Prime. So that's where the trading is for ETFs, at least with the BlackRock, is on Coinbase Prime. So that's not going to affect the CME. So they're using Coinbase Prime. Yeah, please, Nuvi, do that. And that's the best way, because I can only talk so much publicly on the YouTube here and the like. So everybody's got their edge. They got their confidential IP and all that, which I respect. Everything's done for me on Zoom, so it's all done privately. So coming back to Coinbase, I have to understand Coinbase is now the behind-the-scenes institutional level exchange, but they not only do that, but they do also the custodial for a lot of these ETFs. So a lot of the ETFs, all their custodial will be done on using Coinbase. I've seen stories on that. And also there's 3 exchanges that Coinbase maintains. There's the institutional one, which is Coinbase Prime, meaning for only, I guess, the institutions. You probably have to hit a certain account size to get access to it. With my Edge Clear, I do have an option to use Coinbase Derivative, which is another exchange that Coinbase operates, and it has a small subset of coins on there. I've not seen the volumes. I've not seen anything with that. It's called Coinbase Derivative. So that's free data. So if you want to sign up with Edge Clear, namely, there's a very small subset of introductory brokers that support Coinbase derivatives. Edge Clear is one of them, and you can use the Coinbase derivative to do all your trading, crypto stuff on Coinbase derivative. And the nice thing about it, it's free market data. Okay, so remember that. And the other one they operate is Deribit, because they took over Deribit, and a lot of the institutional UK and Europe are on Deribit as well. So that's independently run. So those are the three, and then there's their spot market exchange as well that everybody knows. But there is institutional level on Coinbase. BlackRock on Coinbase, wouldn't have expected that. Yeah, if you go on Google search, BlackRock, IBIT, wallet on Coinbase Prime, you should be able to see it. In the news sections, there is some of the larger crypto news sites that had that, and they actually show the actual images of the order book of the wallets linking back to BlackRock, and they're in large volume, because IBIT was just dumping so much volume on a Coinbase Pro when they were selling off the ETF. And again, that was through, again, Coinbase Prime. We little people will not have access to Coinbase Prime unless you have a certain volume. But I am going to be honest, I am quite surprised that CME has a lot of the volume for crypto. The one thing I will say, it's heavily regulated because it's going through the CFTC. So back in the day, I used to be, no, I don't want to be affiliated with all this regulation when it comes to Bitcoin and Ethereum. And now with all the rug pulls that have been going on, and even CZ getting jailed at Binance, can you really trust these kind of exchanges that are not being run through a U.S. regulator, which Coinbase obviously is, but I question a lot of the activities of Coinbase. They mysteriously closed my account because I didn't use it. Meanwhile, there's money on the exchange and I don't have access to it. It's a small amount, but they just closed it. So I had no warning, nothing. So that's how Coinbase operates. So be careful there. But it's an option. But yeah, be careful of Coinbase. But so far with Rithmic and all them, I haven't had any. Well, it's early for me to say. I won't know until I experience live trading on Rithmic into the CME. But it's all tightly regulated. So, yeah, there's no messing around on the CME outside of the HFT operators with their quote stuffing and spoofing. But that regulation's coming too. That's what the latest LLMs have been, or AI has been telling me, that there's new versions of controlling that, because that's a no-go. And they're very aware of it. And there's going to be no way the HFT lobbyists will have any control over that. Because I think from what I'm seeing on the marketing front with Rithmic, they're wanting to get more into the futures prop trading and more retail. Because there was a communication I saw with Rithmic, they're going to start rolling out a better educational stuff for Rithmic, which will be good. For retail traders. So I think next year they're going to go really hog wild, being aggressive, trying to get as much of the retail and spot crowd onto Rithmic, because a lot of it's done through the prop firms. With the and there's a lot like Apex, the big one, and a bunch. They all use their platform like Quant Tower, and then use Rithmic for the data and execution. So that's another reason to be with Rithmic. So I think they're going to go on to massive, some kind of educational marketing front. So that'd be good. You guys have been great. Any other questions so far? Hour and a half. I enjoy this. So if you guys got any comments or questions, and I'm hoping to do another live next week, a live stream next Tuesday, because I'm trying to keep on track of that as close as I can. As I said, with where I'm at last 2 months since I've been doing this with the Rithmic API, I think my value is going up, so I'll be, my rate's not going to be so affordable anymore. So just to put that out there. I do have a small subset of members, but it's already expensive, that membership, and then I'm going to double it again because now I'm starting to realize I'm getting the exact kind of crowd I want. And I did a blurb earlier in this stream on how to raise capital from 0 to 25 million in 90 days. So I've talked about that in that stream, or in this stream, so you can watch that, the earlier part. And it's just smart marketing, and AI is good enough to tell you how to do that. It's quite ingenious. So if you guys got any other questions, let me know. Yeah, so now I've passed the conformance test with Rithmic, so I now have access to the famous production Rithmic 01 server, or server network, I guess, or network. That's the production and live trading. So we have that, and I can now pump out real market data, which is great. So I'll set my MotoWave to that, and all my connections will be reprogrammed for the Rithmic 01 for live trading. Apart from interactive brokers, Nuvi, you got some great questions, I got to tell you. Apart from interactive brokers, are you aware of any provider who provide fixed connection for reasonable fee, low barrier to entry for retail traders? As far as I know, if you interactive brokers, somebody told me a few months ago it's $600 a month. So once you start to go fix, you're now going institutional level, and you're asking for affordable, reasonable fee. I don't know if those two can coexist, because with fix, it's first of all, it's very complicated protocol, and for what you pay, is it worth it? I don't know if you're learning it for career. Maybe if you're trying to do this all yourself, I'd stick with a Rithmic API, because I'm not seeing any signs of fix at all. And I know CME has their own APIs as well. They probably are using fix for all I know. So the retail trader and fixed kind of don't coexist, because fix is really meant for institutional level. So unfortunately, I don't think there's a lot of affordable options out there. I do know that there's some other firms that do have it, but interactive brokers will probably be the most affordable at $600 a month. So yeah, I don't think those two things can happen. But again, the most logical path I'd recommend is, I've been saying, with the Rithmic API. That's the most accessible because it's the most affordable. Again, with the fees, $40 for the data, for Rithmic data. That, I believe, includes level 2. And then you have to pay the access to the API fee, $100 a month, monthly, all US dollar for Rithmic API. Now, when you compare that to CQL or CQG, it's 5 times that. So Rithmic is the recommended one, and from a cost point of view, the Rithmic is the way to go. I feel like I'm promoting Rithmic here. I should be working for Rithmic, but it's the better way if you want to go true HFT. And as I said before, the true HFT is your measurement if you are direct market access in one of the exchanges data center like Aurora or ICE or Eurex. Once you're direct market access, then yes, you are high frequency trading accessible. Outside of that, you're at best medium frequency trading. I hate saying that, but that's the truth. There's a lot of people out there that are trying to lie through their teeth saying we're HFT. It's a joke. Do not fall for that at all, because they're just selling you a bunch of questionable software, questionable anything. All they care about is the money and the suckers they can find that fall for it. So unless you're direct market access, you're not close to HFT as well. So I wish I could give you better news, but you got to remember, you're going into institutional level stuff. So there's 2 things you need to have: is a very profitable strategy, and AI can get you there much quicker now, and have a really solid understanding of both futures and options, I've said this also in the past, where options is the big driver of profit. If you get the right calls, when you add in the right amount of leverage and it's positive for you, that's one thing. And the other thing I can confirm, if you want to do the money market making, now you're talking, you actually get paid by the exchanges for market making. And I believe you can do market making with Rithmic. You can do this on Binance and stuff as well. So those are other options or choices where it's not as regulated. Another one you can do is DYDX on crypto, but I just don't think the volumes are there anymore. The volumes are not anywhere like they were a few months ago. It may come back if Bitcoin lasts, but the problem is it's not sustainable because of the volatility. When I do analysis of all the different instruments out there, the highest volatility is pure and simple as Bitcoin and Ethereum. So for instance, if you calculate the volatility of Ethereum, you're at 50% volatility annual, and Bitcoin's around 30%. So now lately, I couldn't imagine it's much higher because the volatility, just look at every day. It's up 1%, 5%, and the next day it's down 4%. Usually there's so many Bitcoin traders, they always had that buy the dip mentality. Unfortunately, I think those folks have been, the joke on Reddit, it's like they end up giving up and having to go back to their McDonald's job. So that crowd was a crowd that enabled the Bitcoin to continuously go up, and where the buy the dip was always possible. So Nuvi says, I agree, Rithmic is the best. I'm starting off with that, then Fix or Rithmic Diamond later. Yeah, that's probably the best, because when you start to worry about Fix and all those kind of protocols, you start to overcomplicate things. And I'm going to be honest, I was part of that for the last close to 15 years. You have to actually at some point pull the trigger and act. So you have to find the quickest path to get you to where you can act and live trade. And you could do it through a platform, but you'll hit many walls that you don't see until you actually want to scale up. So the the platforms will have limitations unless you're trading a subset of small amount of instruments. But with API, you don't have those restrictions. It's more complicated, yes. But with AI today, you can whip up strategies, bots, whatever you want to call them, very quickly. It's surprisingly amazing with what AI can deliver. And and even from a cost perspective, I think I mentioned this before, even if you compare Data Bento, which is a few thousand a month just for the data, with options and futures, and you have to sign these crazy long-term contracts. So that's $24,000 investment just with Data Bento, and that's not including your execution for your orders. It's purely data. Or if you go with IQ Feed, it's the same. I'm not here to knock IQ Feed, but you could be running $100, $150 for an equivalent feed. Again, that's just data. So when you look at $100 the API plus the data cost, let's say $145 a month, it's a steal with the execution, the order capability with Rithmic, because you don't get that with the leading providers like IQ Feed or Data Bento. It's just pure data, and people want to be stuck in that whole back testing world. And I'm here to tell you, you don't have to go down that path anymore. AI is so advanced. You just add in your prompt to somebody else. Please do a back test. So you can add that in your prompt as a hint. Just do a back test, and from that result, please do a walk forward and analysis for the forecast, and it'll do it. And if you provide the real data, you can. You'd be surprised what you can generate. So more hints being dropped there. And the AI is very capable of that. So we'll see what comes up in my shorts when I republish all this and repurpose it. You guys got any other questions? Appreciate you guys being here. If you guys got comments or questions, let me know. What I will say is there's a lot of people that just don't have the patience. They do their so-called doom scrolling, want instant results, the $1 million plus jobs, the quick instant access to all this stuff on the technical. They're not going to go anywhere. They're what I call the hot doggers. They're just kind of analysis paralysis people, dreaming. And unfortunately, out of that, I'd say maybe 5%, at best 10%, take this stuff seriously and stick it out. And play with now AI, building the strategies on the quant side and the modeling, and then stuff that and turn it back around and create code from it. We're at that point now, and it can be done so quick. As I said earlier about the HFT firms, I'm not here to put them on notice. I'm sure they're aware of it themselves. But their trading secrets are slowly being eaten away. And I think new regulation is going to come where it will take away a lot their trading edge and the quote stuffing and spoofing. So, yeah, if that's the case, it'll get better. And we retail mom and pop people can have a fighting chance in this space. If you have the right trading account and really understand the ebbs and flows of the market. Because once you start looking at data every day, like I am, multiple times a day, in fact, you start to realize that there's something there out there called two things: volume and volatility. And you, without either or without volume, you're not going to go very far, because your trades are going to open positions can just drop because they'll crash, I guess, in the price if the volume's not there to keep the order book alive with enough bids to come in to keep the price support there. So that's one thing. And lately, the easy money with the 15-year trend that we had with, let's say, the major U.S. indices like S&P, NASDAQ, with that solid trend that we've had, the easy money type of trades, that's coming to an end, what I'm seeing, because more volatility is coming in with the national debt. It brings in more it's not so stable. There's going to be a lot of unstable pricing discovery out there. And with the, I call it manipulation with this now, money printing, thanks to the Fed, at some point all this is going to break, is going to blow up. So the retail traders are going to get killed because there's not much for them to trade. If you've be on the lookout, ETFs are kind of manipulated in a way, so they'll get killed. It's not going to be a pretty picture when this all blows up eventually. And they call it the bubble of everything, and I believe that. So if you're able to see through the options market with something like open interest, it will tell you the future. You have to focus on forward-looking data. And the best data out there on the trading front is always going to be forward-looking. And the best so far is open interest, and you can only get that in option chain data. That's why it's so valuable. That's why Data Bento charges $2,000 for that data. Here I can tell you can get all that with Rithmic. It's amazing. And there's a lot more things you can calculate using Greek analysis and other things as well. And implied volatility, because that's future volatility, not current or past volatility, because that can help you developing a strategy, yes, but moving forward, it's going to be unpredictable. So Nuvi says the volley should be good for writing options. Yes, that is exactly true. That's going to be the saving grace there, because if you dare to swim the tide and do shorting, you could be making money on that side of the market when everyone else is getting killed. And lots of operations were doing quite nice with that type of trading in the options field as well. Some of you may not know, but I do have a highly advanced options and futures trading course. It covers it over 30 days, and it's all institutional level stuff. Once you understand that, being able to take that and feed it into an AI, like you'd be like, wow. You'd be like one of those high-end, well-paid, multi-million dollar portfolio managers. It's crazy. But volatility can be your friend as well. And knowing the data, especially in the option space, it brings power. We're not talking about the stupid binary options with the red and green light stuff and all that. So I think that will be a big factor. The other thing a lot of people aren't aware of, when the markets go bad, there's probably going to be 2, maybe 3 areas I think that will do well. As examples, I think, as I said earlier, fixed income will be short-term okay in the different durations of treasury, as long as that stays viable. So there's that. Currencies will do very well. I'll give you an example. When you look at Brazil real, it was performing quite nicely this year. Unfortunately, I don't think you can trade that through the CME. I thought you could, but no. But you can trade, a lot of people don't know this, but if you look at the chart of the Mexican peso in the futures market, it was dead up until about November. Volume picked up huge, and then that's been performing very nicely with the Mexican peso. So, and the margin requirements are not too bad because not a lot of people know about this. But if you look at the performance of Mexican peso, you'll see the volume will just pick up like crazy because they knew the Japanese yen carry trade will come to an end. So they're looking for other currencies to trade. I think right now, Mexican peso is an interesting one to watch. But if you have access to something like TradingView or anything on the options space or future space, look for Mexican peso. It's mind blowing. The volume picks up there. So I think when things get bad, you'll start to see, same with the Swiss franc as well. That will pick up volume as well because there's not a lot to trade in the currency space. So those 2 assets, treasury, currencies, if the markets do blow up, are going to be interesting to watch. But the big one that people don't know and has been proven that will perform really nice in the futures and options space is going to be the VIX. When the panic sets in, VIX will spike. If you're trading that in the futures and options space, you'll do very nice, Borat used to say. So there's that as well, because I've been watching VIX, it's been spiking. And the spikes are like 5% moves for the positive, and it's so predictable. And you can watch it all with the options chain. That's why it's so valuable. Not in the futures market, yes. One thing I'll learn, I can tell you the course that I followed, that my course follows, the one found on UC Davis. That's an open source course. So if you go on to YouTube, look for, there's 2 versions, one from 2002 and another one from 2015. UC Davis Futures and Options course, and take that. It's a full-on legit university course, and it's free. You'll learn so much about futures and options trading. It all comes down to fundamental supply and demand. That's what everything drives the markets. Everything is driven by that. And it's the algos out there and the models that watch the supply and demand of the options chain. And it's the supply and demand that basically drives all that. And out of that comes all the fancy quant, all the fancy AI stuff, algos that are based upon that simple principle. And people will argue that till the day they die, which is fine. But ask them how their trading's going. If they're just talking out with no track record, don't listen to them. But looking at workarounds, yeah, I'm not sure what you're referring to, Nuvi, about workarounds, but options trading is where you want to be, without a doubt. And with Rithmic, you freely have full access to it. And it's not manipulated because it's direct from the CME, because it works where the exchanges like the CME and ICE set all the margin requirements, so they're the ones that set everything, and it's all heavily regulated through the CFTC. So when you come to your introductory broker, when it comes to your FCM and Rithmic itself, they're just conduits of the window to what the exchanges put out there, like the CME. And yes, you can trade. You can trade directly on the CME, but it's very expensive again because it's institutional level. That's why in the futures market, that's why they have the micros and the minis, because they're trying to bring in mom and pop traders, the retail traders with the minis and the micros to make it accessible. And that's where I'm at. I mean, I've said this before. One of the more important things is, again, if you're worried about account sizes for this stuff, I'm only passing this along from my IB, my introductory broker. $1,500 for the micros, starting. If you want to go in the minis, start with 5,000 and beyond that. For the full contracts, you're probably looking at about 20 to 25,000, all US. No, that's right, Nuvi. You can't trade the VIX directly, but you can through the CME and on Rithmic, as far as I know, because I do know it's a contract, and that's where money will be made for sure on when the markets collapse, crash, or whatever. It will spike on that, but nobody's going to talk about that. Which concepts are best to trade other than support and resistance? Because I've lost shit or amount of money. Okay, Jack, that's a good question. Hopefully this will be turned into a nice short. Okay, the reason most people lose money is via your technical analysis and fundamental somewhat. What you have to realize, who's setting all the trades, is the HFT shops and the hedge funds, and they're the ones that are driving all of the activity and price action, and pricing discovery is pretty well driven by these multi-billion-dollar funds. So that's why I'm saying you should and want to follow them. Okay, so quant is what they do, quant analysis. Everything else after that is just an afterthought. So usually, I've talked about this before. I don't know when you join the stream, but there's a lot of manipulation going on from these type of firms, and a lot of it's questionable. So for instance, if you're on Robinhood and you're not paying a commission, there's a reason for that. Is because a lot of the HFT shops like Citadel are buying the order flow from the large retail brokers, Robinhood, Schwab, and the like. So Citadel, within a blink of an eye, is able to trade against you and against your position, but they do it in the millions. So they're able to manipulate your trading direction, your pricing action, and go against you. It's called quote stuffing, spoofing, and a lot of the technical retail traders don't know this stuff, or they don't want to know it. That's why they lose. And specifically in Forex, where what's the metric? 90% lose money. It's because they're not in the smart money camp. They're in the dumb money camp. That's why you're losing money and where most traders lose. So if you go into the smart money camp and trade and think like these operations and the trading firms, that's where you want to be. And that's what I'm doing now. Been like that for the last year or so. And you need to be in the futures and options market, because that's where they trade. Majority of the trading is done through the derivatives market, which is your options and futures. Everything else after that, like the retail, spot markets, and the stock exchanges and retail Forex, it's all impacted by the futures and options market. Because if you go into, let's say, Binance Crypto, you have a spot market and the derivative market. The pricing is always driven via the derivative market. Okay, and it's all, as I said earlier, fundamental supply and demand. That's what drives it. Unfortunately, it's all the algos and automation that's driving that when you look at a depth of market. So if you're in the fundamental camp and just watching a bunch of charts, I hate to tell you, you're going to lose money. Always lose money. And there's no magic feed. So unfortunately, that's that. Unfortunately, I wish I could give you better news. But a lot of Retail traders will always argue that. So as long as they argue it, they'll lose money. So you followed up. Jack, do you think the government has given us speculator full control over the financial market, or are they operated by the algorithms? When you're saying the algorithms, what you're saying is the same thing as what the hedge funds, the HFT, high frequency trading shops are running, are all developed by those algorithms. These are multi-billion-dollar operations. Okay, so they're going to have a lobbyist, strong lobbyists. So when something comes up tabled by, think of it like the tobacco industry, where they had lobbyists. So we all knew that tobacco was not good for us. So these firms have their lobbyists. They'll buy up all the politicians, the Congress people and all that, and they will control these lobbyists. And as long as the lobbyists have control in the HFT space, this will always exist. So the quote stuffing and the spoofing will always continue. And there's no way to get around it. I'd rather know about it and play in that space in the smart money and understand that than be in the unknown, technical trading world, the dumb money world. Not recommended. Okay, that's all I can tell you. And it's not really controlled by the government. It's because they don't understand all this, because it's illegal. The only country that allows it is the U.S. It's not allowed in Canada. It's not allowed in Europe and elsewhere. Whereas another good example, CFDs. They're illegal in the U.S. Meanwhile, CFDs are traded everywhere else. And that's another crock as well, because they're just not the real McCoy. They're just CFDs mimic virtual assets from the stockbroker. So they can manipulate all they want. So people aren't aware of that. It's the same with retail Forex. Even though they say it's all regulated, it's not regulated like the CME for futures and options on CME. So that's the best answer I can give you. So Nuvi said, in my humble opinion, using technical is like using a horse when everyone else has moved to cars. Yeah, it's exactly the same thing, Nuvi. There's a better term. There's a smart money and a dumb money. Another example that the smart money will always, a good example is the pump and dump penny stocks, Tim Sykes. He was the smart money. If he knew that there was promoters coming out with these penny stocks, the smart, quote unquote, smart money, they knew what was going on in a particular stock, and they promote, and then there's going to be the retail crowd not really researching stuff, and they'll buy into that hype and buy that penny stock. So the price goes up, and what the smart money will do is they'll use that liquidity from the dumb money to exit, and then the price collapse on the penny stock. And then what happens that when the penny stock drops, it's the retail dumb money that loses. It's the same thing when it comes to a lot of the insiders at banks and whatnot, where they know things move and they can move the market, or they can collude and move the market, and they'll move pricing on certain assets, be it a stock or something in even in crypto now in the futures market. And what they can do is they'll move it up, and they want that liquidity to pile in, which is the retail dumb money, and they use that to exit as the liquidity to exit. So that's how it works, and it's always worked like that until the regulators and Congress for the U.S. has figured this all out. But as I said, it's a lobbyist that will always kind of put out their smoke and mirrors show to confuse Congress people, because they're the ones that control that and regulate that. And it's usually the lobbyists that will either buy certain Congress people and be easy on them, and then there's going to be other ones that are a little more sophisticated and they don't understand it, and along the whole manipulation continues. I've seen it. If you look up some of the sessions, the Congress sessions, where they had the CEO of Robinhood, the CEO and founder Ken Griffin of Citadel, they're part of this live session. You should watch it. And they try to explain to the Congress in this session why the HFT shops are needed. Because they'll say, well, we provide the liquidity. Yes, they do. but they do it. This is the benefit we provide, and they do that. But they're not doing it to be friendly and to be like a hero. They're doing it because they can manipulate the markets. And when you watch these Congress people, they're fossils, literally old people that don't even understand what a stock is. They ask the question, and then they're bamboozled in the answers by these CEOs, be it Vlad, the founder of Robinhood, and CME. Just search for it online. I'm sure YouTube may have it. It's so sad that this is happening, and the lobbyists are part of that as well. So be aware of that. Sadly, but nobody talks about it, and you know, the sad part is that pension plans are part of this now, and they're going to get clobbered. People's potentially rehypothecation with their savings if things blow up in the U.S. markets. And you've heard about rehypothecation with the banks, where people will have their money taken after a certain amount. Same with gold, when they repossess gold in the 30s. Something big's going to happen. And you just got to be aware of it and educate yourself. But nobody talks about it, or nobody bothers to figure it out. So, you know, if you're putting money into the markets, specifically futures and options, only put in amounts that you can afford to lose. That's the best advice I can give you. Or start small. I've said this before. You want to understand the process. You want to understand the workflow that you're building out to build out a quant-based set of models, the strategies, and have the AI code one of those up, test it, prove it. And as I said, you can have an AI do the back test for you and do a walk forward analysis for you. You don't have to do all the old school stuff. It's a waste of time. And just let the AI do it all for you, and then you can convert all that code into production ready for like a Rithmic or whatever you're using. But that's a difficult process. But once you get past that and put it live, that's where you start testing everything. And you want to go with a small amount and an amount that you're willing to lose, and just keep at it, because it can be a systematic process. Can we have access to the high frequency trading algorithms like I can buy it? Well, I do have a membership, my Quant Elite stuff. If you go under more on my Quant Labs, quantlabsnet.com website, I will have a sale after Christmas for equivalent of a Boxing Day promotion. Very affordable. And that's how you get it. It's basically a library of a couple of hundred set of code, C++, Python, even JavaScript, and now C#. So it's all posted behind a paywall. And right now I'm charging $5,000 for it. And that's why I said I'm going to be doubling it, because now I'm adding more value to it. But it's going to be very, very affordable this weekend. So if you're on the email, join it to take advantage of that sale, because I don't think I'll ever do that again. I have no reason anymore. So Nuvia asks, I saw one research paper that said the liquidity HFT provide is normally on the thick side of the order book, and they vanish when the volatility spike or the spread widens. Yeah, that's called quote stuffing. So what the HFT does, or shops do, and it's all done through the equivalent of a Rithmic, okay, or right on the CME. What they do is they'll have an order book or depth of market order book with the bid and ask spread, all the Christmas light stuff flashing, with the tick level stuff. So what they'll do is a lot of them will put in orders, pretending to, with the intent to trade that. And the dangerous part is that will drive up volume, and then that impacts price. So what happens is they do it with an aggression, and a lot of other HFT shops will do the same, or hedge funds, or whoever through automation will do it. And you'll have the retail spot or the smaller operators will pile in thinking that that price will break out. So what happens is during that time, the HFT shops will put in lots of orders, and then at the last minute they'll cancel. And what happens is the price collapses. So all those algos and models and all the smaller operators will lose money. Okay, it's because they put live orders because of that. And what happens is this will happen 2 or 3 times over a certain short period of time. And what they're doing is they want to clear the path to have as less competition on the price. So that's when they put the big orders in. That's when you get the real breakouts. So they test the market, and they'll put the quote stuffing in there and do the cancellation on those orders, and they get away with it. That's what a lot of the big shops do. And that's one of the things that the regulators are going to try to address and make it illegal, because it is not fair, even to retail and spot traders as well. So depth of market order flow, it can be faked or spoofed too. What I just mentioned, Jack, about the quote stuffing, that's the same thing on what you're talking about. That's the HFT shops do that. And there's nothing you can do about it right now, because as I said, with the regulation and the Congress, they've already tried to address it. And the lobbyists are so good that they kind of put out the the positive messages to keep the racket going, because it is a racket. It's a form of collusion as well. Yeah, it's not fair. It's not fair to folks like me. But as I said earlier, you can kind of test that with Rithmic, with a C++ API. I've not seen it in .NET, but the C++ on the order book, you can test the aggressiveness, or they call it aggressors. And there's a calculation they do. So on the order book, you can see how many aggressors there are. So I think it's a test to see how many of these aggressive HFT participants are on that order book. And there's a calculation they use to say, yeah, there's too much aggression here, don't trade it. So you can test it somehow with Rithmic. So there is that functionality. And I think because of that, that's the safer way to do it. But I've only seen it only on C++ Rithmic. That's it. So again, that's one of the big benefits of being with Rithmic. I've not seen it with the trading platforms. I've not seen it. I think Bookmap may try to do that. I don't know if that's real. I know from what I saw with what's it called, OpenBB has it, but they're using these other third-party services to measure the trading volume through a dark pool or through the public market. So there are services that have that, and I can say through the AI, I have seen certain market feeds that CME provides when you're in direct market access with Aurora. They have specific feeds that have that sort of as well, because they'll know, obviously, because they're the exchange. So again, it's all pay to play to get access to all these proprietary feeds that do exist, but you have to be direct market access. And again, that's true HFT. There are third-party services that provide it, and they may be using the same services to be able to kind of republish it as their own. And then with Bookmap, somebody told me, again, I've mentioned this in the stream, they want $5,000 per month for an API access to Bookmap. Forget it. You can probably get it same price if you were to trade on the CME through direct market access. So the closest I've seen, no, I've not seen it with any of the trading platforms. I know that with TradingView, I've seen some strategies that have that, or indicators have that. I don't know what data sources they're using, and I don't think they're real. They're just guessing at best. So be aware of stuff like that. You want to get as close to the real McCoy as possible on that, because it is a real problem. But maybe, just maybe, the regulators might catch on and do something about it, because there's going to be more and more people like myself coming in, going and taking up on that Rithmic API and going, yeah, I got the capital, I'm a self-independent trader, I can do it. And surprisingly, since I've been talking about this, they're coming more and more to me and saying, yeah, I do have the capital to participate in this. With AI, it gets them closer to that as a solution. So that's the power of it all. Man, it's been another great night, another great session with you guys. Thanks very much for being part of that. Hey, you guys got any other comments or questions? I can go on and on and on about this stuff, but I'm becoming more knowledgeable. But as I said, when it comes to things like, Rithmic, I have to be very careful on that as well. So, but one day, if you see on my YouTube channel, all the Rithmic related videos vanish, you'll know why. So I may actually do that soon. Any talk to Rithmic I may have to remove to protect myself. So I don't know what can and cannot get you into any form of, but definitely on the API level, I know the coding, no, can't talk about it at all. But I've tested the C# now. I've tested the C++. The AI can do it. Knew the rising wave work with Data Bento to create a spoofing detector. It runs on Python. I considerable swapping it to run with Rithmic. Yeah, that's what I'm saying for a lot of people. Things like people send me book tips, people send me video tips, people send me courses. Listen, I'm now so confident with AI, and it's so accessible for what you pay a month and what you can do with it. All this stuff is not really valuable anymore. Really, it's not. It's just some gurus, some so-called experts trying to make money off you. So when it comes to something like this rising wave, I'm not saying if it's legit or not, but I'm sure it's very expensive. But with things like Rithmic and the API, you can get the same data source, of course. You just can't talk about it. You can't republish it or post about it. But knowing it and getting access to it is much cheaper. And then being able to really understand on the option chain as well. And there's all the quantitative stuff that you can do with that type of data. As with my courses mentioned, there's all the synthetic options you can do as well. It's powerful stuff. And as I said before for Jack, you kind of want to go more into this line of thinking for quant mindset and high frequency trading mindset, and just stay away from everything else, because you have to remember these are third parties, and they're probably using the same data sources and just reselling it as their own package. And I don't know if it's right or wrong, but as I said, somebody said, I don't know if it was Jack or whatnot, has lost money all the time, and now I've kind of revealed probably why. It's because you're not fully educated as you need to be to make a go of this. And the scary part for me is that a lot of the market analysis and the portfolio analysts, all of them are just so uneducated what's going on in the markets. They're only using, they subscribe to some charting service or Bloomberg, and they think they know everything about the markets. They don't, because it's just the blind leading the blind, unfortunately. But when you dig deep into this stuff with the Rithmic, and really dig deep and understand the flow of the data and the market data of both futures and options, this is what impacts everything, and really understanding the pricing discovery. And yes, there is going to be the exogenous news events that will affect all of this, and that is unfortunately unpredictable. It comes out of nowhere, so you can't forecast that. But you can kind of predict the markets with, as I said, options, chain data with the Greeks for the implied volatility, open interest, and all that stuff. And again, you can only get that in the options chain data. That's, as I keep saying, that's why it's so valuable. You can get that free or very minimal cost on interactive brokers, but it's not the pulse of what the market index is, meaning what the Nasdaq's doing itself, or what the S&P is doing, or the Dow Jones is doing, because that's really critical, especially now as we move into this unknown era of unpredictable, really wild volatility and whatever else. Okay, it's going to change everything how we trade for sure. I watch Bloomberg very often. Those analysts make me laugh. Yeah. I could go on about what I've seen on Bloomberg. You know, things like I've seen females wearing mustaches and things like, and I'm paying big money for it. That's why I don't watch any of this stuff anymore. I do post on one of my services, my quant analytics. I do post the news. That I do for just trend following and what's going on in the markets generally. But the real news is in the data. There's no doubt about that. The data is the news, especially if it's coming from the CME. That's the mother of all data sources. Everything else is subjective. Or you get some called analysts from whatever bank, and as you say, they talk in their book to, it's like free advertising for that hedge fund or for that bank or whoever to bring in the investors. And once you're on Bloomberg or CNBC, that gives you legitimacy. Look at Jim Cramer, right? It's wild that people follow him and lose so much money. And then there's this funny trade they call the reverse Jim Cramer. Just do the opposite of Jim Cramer tells you, you're going to make money then. So 50% of his trades are wrong, at least that. And once you get to that point, you might as well be as equivalent of urinating in the wind, right? And there's going to be the blowback of that, which you don't want. So, everything's in the data, obviously. But you want to understand the relationship between this and that, do the options chain analysis with the Greeks. There's so much stuff where you can calculate arbitrage and hedging. Those are some of the two classic metrics that you can look for to take on a trade or not a trade, among other things as well. So Nuvi says, Bloomberg and CNBC is for your 401k, and that's being generous. I agree. I have my portfolio, and I don't touch it, and I let the pros do it. They've been doing a good job, but they'll never beat the market. As long as they're profitable, and I'm getting a good income from it, I'm happy. And then I just take a portion of that and do what I'm doing now, and trade small amounts. So, but that's my aggressive, active portfolio as well. But yeah, I do let the so-called, well, they are professionals. One's a CFA and one's another certified accountant here in Canada. So I let them run it. And it's less stressful for me too, because once you start to build up these accounts that get really big, it does become very stressful. I'm not gonna lie. So you better hand off a good portion of your retirement so it's safe, because you don't want to lose it. And then a lot of people do that. It's like going to the casino, but start small. Start tiny, build out your process, build out your workflow, get confident, understand the market, understand the data, understand the code, understand the modeling. AI enables you to do that. Reverse engineer it, and work with it, and just throw a little bit into the markets that you're willing to lose. And that's the best way to learn. And unfortunately, it's trial by fire, baptism by fire, and that's the best way. But start small, smart, tiny. And we've had people here saying, I only have $150. That's fine. And it's the same thing. Start small in the retail space, like Interactive Brokers, they don't care. Or if you want to do the crypto or retail forex, you can do that. Understand the process, understand the technical analysis. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But if you have a bigger amount starting, let's say 1,500, do that and open up a futures account. That's probably a better way. And if you're hopefully willing to lose that, because you're not you have to take risks here, especially when you'll see the volatility comes in. But you just need to know how to play that. Yeah, trade small, trade often. I agree with that. And then once you get confident with the process, especially with I don't know how many market regime changes we've had this year. I can imagine the market regime changes will last a couple of days, maybe a week at most, and it's going to change again. So you have to be able to adapt very quickly if you're going to go in this space. So it's very important to know that. But the critical thing is to pull the trigger, take action. And maybe a lot of people don't have a lot, and that's fine. Go into the world of Coinbase, Kraken, and understand crypto space. There's nothing wrong with it. Play around with it, understand it, get confident with the coding. If it's done in Python, that's fine too. Same with interactive brokers, and you can scale that up to, I don't know, Java or C++ or even C Sharp. And C Sharp's a pretty easy language as well, because that's what I'm developing everything in right now, C Sharp, because I build things faster because it's easier to understand. With C++, it's like, yeah, bring out the Tylenol, because it can get pretty hairy, especially when you start to throw in the multi-threading and all that. One thing I need to mention here as well, if you guys got comments or questions, always chime in, jump in, ask whatever. I don't care what level you're at. I'm just trying to be upfront to save people time and bad energy and losing money, okay? But unfortunately, a lot of people don't want to put the effort in, but that's up to them. Anyways, one thing I wanted to mention is I think the big demand that I'm seeing is math. I'm not a mathematician. I'm not very strong in algebra, calculus, and the like. Even in the AI modeling itself. What I want to put out there is a recommendation. If you can get to a point where you can generate quantitative level research papers with all the algorithms and the scientific notation in the math side, as I said before, you can feed that into a different AI. Claude Opus 4.5 is excellent on this, and generate your C++, or better yet, Python or C Sharp from that. And it'll bang out all of the modeling for you. The best hint I can give you is use Python, okay? If you're new to this and you're not very strong in programming. Claude's very good with Python. And what you can do is you can use a really good IDE like PyCharm. And better yet, you want to stay away from as few dependencies as possible, not the pandas, not the NumPy. Reason being is if you ask the AI and you're willing to spend the money on Claude 4.5 Opus, let's say, and just say, do not use these libraries, NumPy and pandas. Only use the standard Python. And let the AI generate the algorithms for you, okay? Because I can tell you from a production point of view with these large HFT shops, they're gonna have their own set of algorithms. So if you're new to math like I am, or weak on math, what you do is you let the AI generate all the algorithms for you in the code, okay? And what you can do is then you can go in and use a really good debugger to see and watch how it steps through the process as the data comes in, and you can see step by step how the algorithms used with that data stream or data window, and see how it works with the data. And you can see that in an actual debugger. I will tell you that is the best way to learn everything from an algorithm standpoint and also from the math itself. Okay, that's the best way to do that, okay? And better yet, if you want to get into the high-paying jobs, and again, I've also already mentioned using Rithmic as get yourself front of the line. The other, if you're comfortable in programming, do the same process, but have it generate C++. No dependencies at all. Only just say standard template library, and that's it. No other dependency. No other library, no other framework in the compiling process and linking. So it's forced to generate all the algorithmic coding for you, all the math code for you. And then again, run it through a debugger, a really rock solid IDE like Visual Studio, and step through it. And you can step through all the threading, how it handles the math side as well. It's the best way to learn, no matter what your level is. And once you get to that level, in interviews, you'll be a rock star. It might take you a good number of months, but it's one thing I've never mentioned, thought of to challenge people on. Okay. So Python with Onyx, runtime and NumPy to speed up Python. On its own, I find it too slow for live trading. Yeah, because the problem is, Nuvi, you got amazing points. You definitely know. I would even say you're probably some form of insider, knowing what you know. Onyx, if I'm understanding, is that the fix library you're referring to that you pay like 5,000-10,000 a month? If that's the case, along with Numba as well, yes, because it's a third, well, not third, it is a third party, but it's open source, and that will slow down your coding and performance. When it comes to using these advanced AI LLMs, specifically Claude 4.5, that's what you want it to do. Is you want it to generate your own algorithms, okay? And you can turn them into third-party libraries. So you can have your strategies used and referred to down the line. I may do that. I don't know. So you don't have to rely on these third-party, very expensive third-party, if it's C++, to slow you down. And as I said, if you want to learn it and debug it through an IDE, through like C-Lion or whatever you're using, Visual Studio, whatever it is. But that's the best way to learn it, to take it to that level. So that's what I'm planning to do. I mean, it's a very long process, very complex process. But again, you're living with the code at the low level. Okay. And that's the best way to learn if you're using something like C++ or Java, whatever, C#. The problem with Python when it comes to production-ready code, it's not going to work. Okay, Python is a scripting language, it's a sequential language. It's not built for multi-threading. That's the big drawback of Python. For anybody listening, you want to use Python just for researching your modeling. And that's what I'd use with AI, is let the Python bare bone, no packages, and let the AI generate all that code for you. It's more expensive, but you learn. And then what you can do is you can take that same code and convert it into C++ production ready as well. It's that advanced. Yeah, I've been kind of playing with that for the last number of months. But your end goal is C++ as well. And I think it was you, Nuvi, was mentioning about bypassing the Linux kernel and all that. AI can do that for you as well. And as I said earlier, I'm no FPGA expert, but when it comes to HFT modeling, and specifically when you're combining that with direct market access with a CME or whatever exchange, you'll hear a lot of talk about FPGA. So I've dug in a little bit of FPGA. In fact, some of the advanced AI will actually tell you what kind of production FPGA boards you can use, like Alteryx. Like I checked into one, it was a $5,500 board for FPGA. And I've looked at this, how it kind of works, because FPGA is just a bunch of circuits that are on and off, and that's what FPGA is. But you can program it using a proprietary language like VHDL or Verilog. And that's proprietary to the FPGA manufacturer, if it's Alteryx or the other one, Xilinx. And then I asked her, how does it work? How do you code this thing up? And then they have these suites, these like a Visual Studio, where you can turn on. There's actually, you can see it on YouTube. These, I can't remember the name of the studios, the coding studios for FPGA, and you can push a button and it will basically reprogram the board, for the FPGA board for you, with all the language. It's kind of like looks like an assembly or assembler, and that's proprietary to the FPGA board. And then you feed that and install that into your server, and then that's what you deploy with on the exchange. And then somehow you can somehow connect that to the proprietary CME feeds that I've talked about, the expensive ones. And the AI keeps coming back to that. Funny enough, though, I did look at the performance of FPGA versus C++ and moving out the kernel, because there's a DK, something like that, which is from Intel, and it's a library that you can use that can remove the kernel out of Linux. So you're just basically bare metal with the basic kernel and your strategy coded up like that. And I did one very small amount of code. The executable is it was actually a bin file. It was nowhere in 17K, and everything revolves around that strategy code. So you could do that, and you could do that specifically in C. And yes, AI can do that for you. And as I said, AI is now advanced now, where it will generate the FPGA code if it's Verilog or VHDL. So that is very, very, very possible now. But what I was going to say, compare that to C++, the performance from what I'm seeing is still faster C++, using either that style of programming or what a lot of firms use is metaprogramming with C++ as well. So if you ever looked at metaprogramming, is it metaprogramming, meta templates? And it looks kind of like assembler, is very cryptic. And if you looked at that style of coding, some HFT firms use that as well. So you can use those options as well, where you don't need to be FPGA. And I do believe the AI can generate that for you, and also give you recommendations on how to tweak both your compile processor using GCC to the proper amount of threading and all that. It's all possible through all the different arguments that you use on the compiler and linker level. So that is possible to do. So you just added a comment here. There are some off-the-shelf software providers for FPGA like AlgoLogic. So you looked at it. I can't say what works with what, but I do know there's these data studios from the manufacturers from both Alteryx and Xilinx. And you can possibly get AI to generate that code for you. That's pretty neat. and generate it right from an algo HFT style, quant style strategy. I've done it before. I've seen it. It's I don't know where AI is going to be in the next few months, but between the Chinese ones and the competition with that and things like Claude, everything's so advanced. It's crazy. Yeah, man. It's just crazy what we can do with C++ now and AI and quant-based stuff. And I do really think it's leveling the playing field for people like us, the mom and pops, have access to be able to develop this. The question is, has anyone done it with live money? And I can assure you no one's talking about it because they want to keep it secret. I may be like that. So anything related, as I said, related around these topics, one day I may remove it off of the public YouTube and my blog. You never know. I may get a call one day from one of these shops saying, hey, you might want to take down these particular articles and videos. Might do it. Who knows? And put that behind a paywall. But I'm just amazed at where I'm at from a year from now, because a year ago, I just put out the course. I put out the futures and options course. I'm like, yeah, this is the path I want. And I got sucked into AI. And because it was changing so fast over, let's say, the last 10 months between January and October, November, it just got more and more advanced. I spent more and more time on the AI, what it can do, and pushing it, and just seeing what it can generate as code, and quantitative modeling as well, all the analysis that it can do. And it's safe to say, if you're willing to spend the cash per month, using let's say, Anthropic Claude 4.5, including the debugging iterations, I will tell you without a doubt, this is the way to do it. As a one-person show. I should be giving myself credit here because I said one person, not one man. Gotta get with the times, folks. You guys got any other questions or comments? So we've been at this for 2.5 hours. Like I said, I can keep going, blabbing away. I do like these more advanced topics. even though maybe it might go over people's heads, or one ear out the other, which is true. I don't do this to stroke my own ego, but if you're starting small, as I said, just start small. I think of anything I can tell people that wants to do algorithmic trading, just start small, start tiny. The two options, even I could sit here and knock both crypto and Forex. I want people to learn the process, okay? That's the number one thing to take away and learn from it. And if you do it with TradingView, that's fine too, because TradingView has an amazing power to it. Nuvi says, I really love these stream. I'm going to spread the news so I don't hug the chat. Yeah, hey, I appreciate you being here, man, because you're really contributing to this. It sounds like you're an insider. You put a lot of research into it. I commend people like yourself. You're few and far between, because yeah, it's the people that put the work in, and the time in, and the energy, and stick to it. I think over time they reap the rewards. And everybody else that I've seen, 2 comments here where people have lost money. And that's because they stay in that, I hate saying it, dumb money bucket. And there are some that will argue everything that's being talked about tonight about Rithmic. They'll just say, no. My RSI, magical, reverse, whatever, Bollinger crossed with some catonic Ichimoku cloud thing is awesome. And it probably isn't. And they just sit there year upon year working on trying to improve it and wasting so much time. And they get stuck in that. And they never get anywhere. And they don't pull the trigger to live trade, pull the trigger to act, to really put the theories to work. And I'm going to be honest, I'm one of them. I've been like that. Well, I mean, I've done live trading. I've done very well in crypto. Thank you very much. I've done, like, interactive brokers is another story. But this is the bread and butter of the markets, futures and options. And as I've talked enough about Rithmic enough as well. But Nuvi, it's good that you jump aboard and understanding this, because with AI, you really don't need third-party stuff. No books, no courses, no stuff. You just got to be with a community of like-minded people, and that are doing it, and they're not armchair critics, or some of the I don't know if you saw the comments already. I don't know if you've seen them. Some of the I don't want to be rude here, but you know, the haters, the whatever else you want to call them, just putting all these goofy comments on. It just shows a reflection on their juvenile attitude. But the serious people, the small amount of people, they're the ones that do well, and those are the ones that get into that top 1%, top 10%, and then the rest are all sitting outside of that, complaining that it's not, life's not fair, blah 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 blah. And it's like, whatever. Everyone's got the same opportunity. I've started from zero like everybody else, but my confidence is getting better and better every time I work with AI. Better and better looking at quant modeling. I'm better and better with C#. I mean, I've always used C#. I've got the programming skills. I've been working at it for God knows how long. I feel ancient when I say it, but since I'm at 14, and that's over, 40 years, and leave it at that. And I'm fine with it. But everything changes, and coding's part of it. Quant modeling is another part of it, but from what I'm seeing on LinkedIn with a lot of the insiders, the quant guys, the quant females, there's a lot of them out there. Everybody wants to know about the mathematics behind it all. And as I said, if you really want to learn that stuff, if you're not one of these people that can do proofing, mathematical proofing, another great process I said earlier is run it through a debugger. It can take a while, understand it, the more you work with it, the faster you pick up on it. So there's that as well, and I'm just putting that out as tips, and they will come out in shorts if the AI that I use to create the shorts pick up on that and repurpose it and putting those out as recommendations. And people need to act and pull the trigger. That's the next thing that most people don't do. As I said, if anyone's on here, just throw in your comments and even criticism and questions. I'm a big boy, I can take it. What I want to mention is, I don't think I've ever mentioned this before, is when you see people starting these, we'll call them newsletters, going to educational, going into consulting, all about quant related or HFT related or programming related. A lot of those people are people that fail at trading because trading's so hard. So they figure they want to still be in the business. So what's the next best thing for them to do is to get involved in the consulting or education. And they don't have a track record to showcase their knowledge. And that's the real factor now, to show your chops, your credibility, your receipts to prove what you're saying. Because it's all theoretical 1 minute, which I'm guilty of. I admit that, no problem. But you got to show your trading activity and show somehow your trading results, be it on third party, and that's to show your credibility on what you talk about. So that's what I'm planning to do. And I've always said this to people. They want to see the so-called third-party track record and verified. That's fine. You do that and you show, oh, I'm profitable now. Everybody wants to jump aboard and do what you do. Well, guess what happens? You go from charging $50, $100 a month to probably $10,000, $20,000. Why? Because you're now showing your trading record. And it's verified as well via third party. And now you have credibility. And now if you're able to generate that alpha beating the markets, being maybe 1%, yeah, you charge big money for it. And everybody else is just secondary. Anybody. That could be newsletter writers, that could be anyone. Substack, that could be anybody talking about the markets and all this stuff where they're just being all subjective on their so-called analysis. And most of the time, 75% of the time they're going to be wrong. Because they're not looking at the stuff like option chain data, future market data, understanding the relationship between this and that, and just really being down and dirty with the data and building out the trading systems or strategies, automated trading strategies, and putting real live money on it. Because that's going to be knowing the difference between the men and the boys, right? So you want to be on the men's side, not the boys' side where all these speculators and stuff, gurus and whatever else, are just talking out of theory, really. So there is that has to be considered, okay? And I'm not here to brag about what I'm doing. I could probably fail for all I know, and that's fine. I think you learn more from people that fail and try, and that just don't give up and willing to put live money on it, and then they crack through, and they make a breakthrough. That's when that's more valuable than anything else, I think, when it comes to so-called trading guru and trading education. Those that actually put the time in and actually doing it with live money and talking about it freely, and showcasing it up to a point. And there's a lot of people that want everything for free. They can, buzz off, at my point of view. I don't do this for fun. Obviously, I'm doing this as a career as well. So I've done enough ranting in this stream. I'm pretty well known for ranting. It's kind of funny when I feed, I don't know if you guys know the Nano Banana image generator from Google. It's kind of funny. When I feed a picture of myself, the last 3 or 4 I've done, it shows me either frowning like this or being unhappy. So maybe that's what I'm known on the back end of AI now, on the image generation, that I'm some frustrated, person. I think it's kind of funny. But that's what it's been lately on the thumbnails that get generated with Nano Banana Pro, which is really good, I must add. So actually, let me put this out. I saw a survey on LinkedIn, and people wanted to know. The guy wanted to know. He's 18, and he's putting out all this stuff. His name's Johan, his German last name. He's 18, and he's posting stuff on LinkedIn, and he's built up from zero It's over 25,000 followers just posting stuff about quant careers, quant, trading businesses, quant. And he's gotten so good. He's built up 25,000. So one of his surveys was, how do people want to present all his future content? So the number one out of, 50 responses, 72% said they want to see guides. So I don't know if you've seen those big images with like simple snippets on this and this and this in an image guide, I guess you could call it. I just played with those tonight, and from all the stuff I've generated, it's very advanced. So I'm going to post some of those just to see what happens. Because I'm going to put one up about Bitcoin manipulation. I'm going to put one about one of the quant-based strategies with the actual formulas. It's crazy what it can generate. And actually, I talked about raising capital to 25 million. I'm gonna post one of those as well, all the steps. It's awesome. I'm gonna be honest, it's awesome to be able to do that. Thanks for the likes. I never say people should subscribe to my channel. I never do. And that's why I only got 13,000. Like YouTube says, you gotta tell them to subscribe and like and share all the time. And I never do that. That's why I only have 13,000 people on my channel. But anyways, if you guys are going to get comments or questions, let me know. 3 hours, man, almost 3 hours. We're shy of it. I don't mind doing it. My voice will eventually give out. But it's folks like Nuvi, Jack, I think there's JDI, another one, and Ingrid that's asked in the past some questions. I don't know if she's still online. But it's very exciting to be able to do this. As Nuvi says, he loves these live streams. I like doing them. These are the best engaging ways to engage with people. Went through a YouTube thing, and they said just be consistent with the streams. And a month. This is my fourth one on a Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I intend to keep it that way, moving out, and just do one a week. And people seem to like them. And we generate a lot of shorts and short clips that get reposted on LinkedIn, TikTok, all the other social media, and people like those too as well. If you got any comments or questions, let me know. I can be online for a while, as I said. But one thing I've noticed with people, they'll see a clip, they'll like see something interesting, and the clip could be 30 seconds. And all of a sudden they want to learn how to do algo trading or HFT trading after a 30-second clip. And the thousands upon thousands of videos I've doing this. Hacker Bora Bora, how you doing? If you got a question, let me know. Or a comment, let me know. But as I said, people like with these shorts, I don't think they do a service for people. Their attention spans of a paramecium or a gnat. And they want the results, like $1 million results just after watching it. We know that's not possible, or people want to learn after a 10-minute video. It just, the expectations blows my mind. Still here. Oh, Ingrid's still there. Welcome. I appreciate that. I love the long-term loyal fans. It's great. Yeah, thanks for being part of that, Ingrid. I just think that it does harm when people just watch and doom scroll. I mean, I know there's an addiction component to it. That's how a lot of social media platforms want it. But when you break it all down, what are you taking away from it? What are you learning? What are you investing your time? Like is it productive? And most likely it's not. And people will just jump into the theoretical and never implement things, and they either lose money, they want the easy route and lose money. We've got 2 comments here based on that, and that's why, because you have to implement, you have to, I think the term is do the work, and people don't want to do that. I think algorithmic trading and HFT stuff, quant-based stuff is very difficult. That's why these folks get paid in the in the peak time, they could be $500,000, $1 million plus. There's one firm paying on average over £2 million per employee. And this is why, because this stuff is very, very difficult. But once you get through it and understand it and live and breathe it day and night like I do, it's very rewarding. And I enjoy doing it, especially from we'll call it a do-it-yourself approach, and just implement and take action, and I guess watch these and focus on that stuff, other people that you value versus just doom scrolling. It's not really useful. I'm sure you already know that. So Hacker Bora Bora says, I just used PyMD today. It's a package to predict dynamic thing. I built a good dash with that. That's fine. If it works and the win ratio is good for you, continue doing it. Some of the stuff that I've generated using part of the prompting is, I'll say, I think dropping hints again, is I ask for a portfolio of this with popular portfolio performance metrics as part of the prompt. And especially with Streamlit. You combine that in your Claude 4.5, you'll be blown away what you can see. So if you've watched this whole stream and then you'll know the kind of prompts that I'm putting all this type of data points into one prompt. It will blow your mind. So you don't have to use these third-party solutions, be it a Python package or maybe a third-party broker. These are what we call crutches. Okay, I would prefer people not to use crutches, especially in the world of AI. AI, as I've mentioned many times in this one stream alone, that's not really a crutch. That's a tool that can be so productive to generate, call them quant research papers or the equivalent, code from that, and being able to analyze different types of strategies that would recommend. And again, these are quant-based type of strategies, non-technical and fundamental. It'll blow your mind, and then you can feed that back and generate code from it, and it can generate it, as I kept saying, both Python and C++ from it. And there's only Claude that can do that successfully, but you got to spend money. If you're trying to come in from a I don't want to spend money point of view, there's that saying, you get what you pay for. So if you're coming in, I don't want to spend a nickel on any of this stuff, you'll get garbage results. And then that's when you get the people saying, oh, AI doesn't work. It's like, okay, yeah, you're not willing to put the money in. And maybe you don't know how to prompt. But AI definitely does work. I mean, there's companies laying how many millions of people off now, and not just that, but it ends their career path. And it's get harder and harder as time passes. So it's the same thing with AI. So Hacker Borobor's anti-gravity is amazing, eh? I've not touched it. And that's apparently a VS Code fork. I've been kind of interested to play with it. I've always had difficulty with VS Code, but now I'm kind of understanding Visual Studio. Maybe I should check out anti-gravity from Google. Just for those people who don't know, that's Google's brand spanking, shiny new programming IDE. And I'm sure that's going to be tied in with Gemini, which they're pushing a lot of. And Gemini's getting better every day. I will admit that. But still, that's why everybody wants and demands Claude. And ChatGPT's falling behind. Grok's not even on radar. Some of the Chinese ones are kind of there, but the open source free ones are just not the level of Claude. Claude's, for coding, hands down, number one. And actually, I think Claude rules it all. I hope they stay independent, because if somebody jumps in, takes them over, it's probably going to... I can predict some not good things for Claude. We got a new person, all the Hishek. Hi, how are you? If you got questions, comments, let me know. Welcome aboard. That's one of the things I like the stream. People come and go, which I like. If you got a comment or question, or anybody, jump in, because I don't mind doing these. Lots of shorts are hopefully going to come out of this for the next couple of days. I've covered so much, but that's part of the appeal. Like the thumbnail won't attract a lot of people. But I initially talked about that topic at the beginning, so just go into my live and watch the whole thing if you want to pain yourself of 3 hours of what I'm talking about, among all the other stuff. Okay, new point from Hacker Bora Bora. Google, lunch, agent, 80K. I didn't use it. It's just today. I've never heard of this yet. I haven't caught up with my news from today. I'll note that. Agent, 80K. Okay, let me talk about agents. Just for those that may not know, I've spent a lot of time on AI back in September. I generated 250 Python projects. Some of the topics was, can I build a trading system using agents? So I did that. Built out a trading system with agents. The only one that would do it successfully on the first go around is Manus AI, which is Chinese. MANUS. I think that LLM is the one that sets the standards. This is like going back months ago. It's so good. Very, very expensive. So I think that's what Google's trying to do with these agents now. 80K, maybe to compete against Manus. I don't know. But Manus is very powerful. It can build trading systems on very little prompting. And to see it do that, it's pretty impressive. And the thing is, with all these agents, and then there's a hype of MCP code and RAG applications, I've kind of played with it. One day I may actually implement something like that. I do think the dream since day one for a lot of firms is to build out strategies, bots that self-adapt to the market conditions. I think we can do that now using something like either RAG or MCP. I kind of experimented with it, but I'm afraid to go with one that's commercial and give it my credit card. And when there's no caps, that I'm gonna have a monster credit card bill by playing with it, because when the addiction kicks in, you know what I mean? So there's that. So that can be very easy. It becomes like, as I said earlier, like smoking, and then you pay for it. Anyways, with these agents now, with something like Manus, yeah, you can probably build out agent-based trading systems. They're very complicated though, even in Python, or self-adapting use MCP. What I've figured out, there's two approaches when it comes to MCP. I was first introduced to Olama, and I asked it, I don't want to register to anything. Please give me equivalent of an MCP. It mentioned Olama, and I thought, oh, this is cool. Played with it, and it's all local. Downloaded one of the simpler LLMs, local, fine, which I don't think you really need to do in this day and age. And then there's also the RAG. Can't remember what it stands for. But anyways, where I'm going with that, with this self-adapted strategy, or call it whatever you want, bot, I think we're at a point now where you can use something like Rithmic, feed in, I don't know, depending upon your time frame, you could feed it in hourly data all the way down to your bid and ask on your multi-second or really low latency, and have a stream go through, and then have the stream analyzed by a AI LLM. And then just keep telling it, refresh it, give me a new strategy, give me a new piece of code that I can trade with using, let's say MCP, something like Olama, and it will just consistently generate a new strategy for you in the code that you want. I've kind of tried that. Try Toto model for time series. I think we kind of killed the time series already, Hacker Bora Bora, if you want to know what I'm talking about. There's different approaches using Rithmic data, which is very kind of affordable for what you're getting. Anyways, but I think you can use MCP to generate your dynamic-based strategies. So you can use a really good LLM, DeepSeek as an example, that's free, and download it locally and just generate new strategies on the fly in Python, C++, and just have it somehow automatically compile for you, link for you, and redeploy a new strategy with the same data stream. I think I wouldn't be surprised we're already at that point. But being able to do that is very possible now. Very possible, be it if it's Python or C++ or whatever language. I think we're at that point now. So for Hacker Bora Bora, I think we joined late. Yeah, we've been talking about for a while now, 3 hours later, the Rithmic data. You might want to look at that. It's the best data, most affordable data, and you're on the futures and options. If you're going through these third party, I think they're a complete waste of money. And then you can download those CSVs and then upload them to an AI, an advanced AI, and just say, hey, give me a strategy based on the data CSV. And you can do that now. I've tested it with Claude 4.5. Definitely you can develop strategies and research off that. It's mind-blowing things we can do. If you guys got any other comments or questions, let me know. I don't know if people are still around. And if you are, thank you very much for being part of that. It makes me build up the channel. All the things I do is very niche, so that's why my channel's kind of small. But we'll see how those images I've just talked about do. I mean, they're awesome. Again, that's using that LLM is not Nano Banana Pro. That is actually a ChatGPT one, image 1.5. That's what I'm using to generate those images. Where we're at, it's unbelievable. And I would stick to this path. If you can financially survive and put the time in and dedicate yourself to this and give yourself 6 months a year, you know, these are skills that you build out that nobody can take away. And you're not dependent on a job. You're not dependent upon a paycheck. It's you developing everything on your own code. And nobody can take away your broker account or your connection to something like Rithmic. I mean, you'd have to do something really severe to break their terms of service. But we search for a hidden pattern that needs knowledge. As I said earlier, Hacker Bora Bora, that is where the AI comes in. That's where the advanced AI comes in. That's front and center. That's what to take away from this. I don't see the point of doing any more back testing with whatever, however you're doing it. I'm not going to mention some of the platforms that's their bread and butter. You don't need them anymore at all, because you can just feed data in and just tell the AI to do a back test for you. It's that advanced. And then you can also, at the same time, in the same prompt, give me a walk forward analysis. I've already dropped the hints, so watch the entire stream. I do that on purpose to get people to work. That's my way to force people to say, you know, I'm not going to give you the answer because I want you to work and just watch the video. But unfortunately, other people will just find their way and just continue swimming against the tide, I guess. But I've found ways now to break that and be able to get quick path with all these solutions I'm talking about. And as I said, one day all this stuff may disappear off of my blog, all my social media, and all my YouTube, especially when I'm talking about Rithmic as well. It's too valuable. And these firms, they want to keep their trading secrets to themselves. They don't want some guy like me blabbing about stuff, even though I'm not going to break terms of service. That we know. But this hidden pattern stuff, you can get AI to do that for you. Hacker Bora Bora. Sounds like you're in Bora Bora. Probably if you're a nomad working on the automated trading, I salute you on that. I think somebody asked me, why do I want to leave Canada? I think I already mentioned it, but the political, tried living under, I call them Captain Sparkle Socks for 10 years. The famous Trudeau, very, very difficult to make a go of things. Currently, things are just as bad. You're not hearing them. So I think more and more people are getting out of places like England or UK and Canada. And same with the US as well. And they're going to friendly places like Dubai. And I've also been seeing articles as well. Some of the big shops like Citadel's opening operations now in Dubai. You have to realize when you got a guy like Ken Griffin, you know, one of the largest trading firms in the world, who moved out of Chicago, and when Chicago went crazy with their social whatever, then he moved everything down to Miami. And you look at their new mayor that they just elected. You don't know if Miami's going to go down the same path as Chicago. I hope not. But if they do, where else can you go? That's where places like Singapore and Switzerland possibly, well, even Switzerland I question now, but definitely Dubai and Singapore are going to be possibly the new financial capital markets of the world. I did an article that became kind of popular about how Saudi Arabia is trying to get into the HFT world as well. I mean, that's where the money's at, is in the Mideast. And they're not dumb. They know where the trading operations or trading opportunities are, is using the HFT stuff. So don't be surprised to start to see trading volume come out of places like UAE, Saudi, and all the other Gulf regions as well, because they got the capital, no doubt. So I think that's the next place to be. And hey, I don't want to get into politics, but maybe you know what I'm talking about. They're becoming more anti-business, more anti-trader friendly. Give you an example, under the social system that we had under Captain Sparkle Socks, they wanted to introduce a 66% capital gain on people's earnings through trading. Can you imagine 66%? It's unheard of. It's just an economy killer. But don't be surprised one day they may actually do that. And same with the States, same with anywhere in the West. So these are things you got to be aware of moving in the future. So if people see me say, oh, I'm going to the West, that's one of the big reasons, because that was tabled last summer. 66% on your capital gains. Not good. Not good at all. Any other comments or questions? I think we're dropping off here. Anybody got questions or comments? We're just gone blown. This will be the longest stream. Thank you for being part of it. Comments, questions? If not, I'll do it going once, twice, three times. So I believe it's just after 10 p.m. my time. Okay, so I'll do a going once, and I pause because I know there's a delay here. Going 2,000. Let me start again. Going 1,000. Going 2,000. I always do the going 2,000 and a half. Going 2,000 and a half. Going 3,000. So I'll just officially end it. Okay, folks, we're going to end it tonight. This stream is done. If you missed the crucial parts, it's there on YouTube for now. Watch it. It may disappear. And other stuff will disappear as well, maybe down the line. As I've mentioned earlier, as I said, I'm going to have a big sale on my website for the Quant Elite folks. Basically, it's currently priced at $5,000 for a year. I just had a Black Friday, and it was $500. It's going to be $500 again this weekend for Boxing Day. I think that will be the last of it. And you'll be permanently grandfathered in at that rate, $500 a year. And currently it's at $5,000, and I'm kind of strongly going, maybe I should do $10,000. Because you know why? Because we're getting the firms coming out asking questions. And this is institutional level stuff. HFT, pricey, valuable. So that's why I'm doing it. So we'll leave it at that. If you get on my email list at quantlabsnet.com, there's a tab there at the top called Learn, and just join the email list. You get a free ebook with the C++ stuff for the infrastructure. You can download that. It's like a 50-page thing. And you get all my emails. And I'll probably announce to everybody the next day. Maybe make it available as well. But I'm going to end it probably on Sunday or Monday. I'm not sure yet. It depends upon the response. But this probably will be the last of it. I've got over 250 projects already done in Python, C++, a bunch in C#. The only thing I can't put up there is, as I said, is the Rithmic API code. That's a big no-no on my part. But I can, if you haven't seen the new architecture I'm introducing, I can put trading strategy coding in there for all these futures and options with all the coding. We've got the groups now, specific one where the algo quant trading stuff is available there now too. So that's part of it. You get access to everything, all the courses and stuff, no matter what. Goes back, geez, long time. Been at it for, I think 15 years will be next year as well, 2006. Alrighty, folks, I guess there's no comments or questions further. Yeah, so I'll end it. Thanks for watching. Have yourselves a good night, and I'll be back hopefully next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on good old YouTube and the Quant Labs channel. Over and out. Have a good day. Merry Christmas and all that, and have a good New Year's as well. Don't party too much. Gotta learn the code. If you want to dedicate yourself, do the solo learning on New Year's Eve. All right, man. Take it easy. Have a good night. And again, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and all that. Over and out. Bye-bye.